Hi, I'm Sweetie Abochi, serving you the AM News now. A parliamentary select committee on health has visited the Tamale Teaching Hospital to gather first-hand information on the facility's challenges. The committee is touring health facilities across several regions, including the Upper East, Northeast, Northern, and soon the Upper West region. They met with hospital management and also the striking doctors to address the ongoing impasse.
It was a great forum, a moment when health workers at the Tamale Teaching Hospital engaged the Parliamentary Select Committee on Health in a candid discussion about the frustrations and challenges they face due to the lack of basic logistics at the health facility. Doctor after doctor lay bare the challenges they have had to grapple with each day. They said even though they are competent, these challenges lead to deaths that could have been avoided.
In just 3 months that the MRI broke down, they will fix it, they will put helium in, and they will be back to work. Up to date, 2025, MRI has not working. The number of cases that would have benefited so much from an MRI is not a luxury. MRI is no more a luxury. They are meant for critical cases. We can't do them. We will not be able to diagnose hyperacute strokes. And so they will become full-blown. They will live with a disability. We are not able to do cases for pediatric patients because MRI is not available. So we put them under ionizing radiation, waiting for 20 years when they are about 20, 25 years old to live with cancers. Is that what we are looking for? No. The narrative must change, not only about local for TTH. The whole narrative must change. We cannot be going from here to Sunyani and Kumasi just for a mammogram. Mammogram has never worked ever since I've been back as a specialist. I'm talking of 2017 to date.
Even though we don't have people with these cases, and it's a time-sensitive intervention. Okay, so unfortunately, we have to use outdated ways of treating these people. We call something thrombolysis. Okay, when we do this, the outcomes are not good. So then we are going to have patients who come back with heart failure and a whole lot of complications as a result of that. And we actually have a cardiologist in this hospital who is trained to do interventions. He did this in China for a year, but since coming back to this facility, he's not able to put into practice these skills. And I think that this is something that we need to look at. We had a staff, a young person in his early 40s who had a heart attack, and we could not do this intervention, which is life-saving. So unfortunately, we had to offer him inferior therapy. But thanks be to God, it was timely enough, and his heart is doing well. But I think that this is not fitting, in this modern day.
Members of the committee made some remarks, suggestions, and also critique when it was necessary.
I think that what you are doing is marvelous. We want to commend you for all the good work you are doing. It's been my catchphrase since yesterday that service in this part of our world is mostly a sacrifice. And I can see that in you, that you have been bearing yourself out to be able to serve the people. And the greatest demotivation is for the staff to prepare, have the skill, get ready to come and work and get to the facility and know able to deliver because it doesn't have logistics or some equipment. And where's for me to talk about water?
The health committee wants you to understand that we want resource allocation to the health sector to increase. The Abuja Declaration says that we need to do about 15% of our budget. Currently, we are doing about 9%. And we are saying that yes, government can assist, but our IGF can also contribute to increase that revenue allocation. Recently, during budget hearing, I don't know whether TTH, when it got to their turn, that issue came up. But we said that your budget had been reduced. And when we investigated, we realized that the IGF that you submitted had been reduced.
The committee had earlier met the management of the TTH and the doctors to try to resolve the impasse currently ongoing at the Tamale Teaching Hospital. For Joy News, Martina Bugri reporting.
The chiefs and people of Buyi traditional area in the Koforidua District of the Volta region have appealed for the Community Health Planning Service compound to be equipped with a laboratory. They believe this will enhance the investigation of health conditions to warrant appropriate diagnosis and treatment and improve healthcare delivery. Fred Kwame has more in this report.
Following calls from the people of Buyi in the Koforidua municipality for better health services, the government constructed a CHIPS compound and a maternity unit. Though this had improved access to health in the predominant farming community, the residents believe equipping the facility with a lab would enhance diagnosis and treatment. Genevieve Akoli is a midwife at the CHIPS compound.
It's making us lose a lot of clients. And then we also don't have a scan center for our pregnant mothers. So when we refer them, that when they go, they end up going there. Because if they will come to us and we will now refer them, so we are losing clients in that regard, and the lab and the scan too.
The paramount chief of Buyi, Togbega Akim the 8th, appealed for an immediate intervention.
Lab technician mele fio doctor reke mele akpo serious cases o bonamio ta mele mokpo bo jirudu akpere miaun baba to lab Ministry of Health baba to lab technician ava doctor ava kemi makanto buda no pando plate foyi na nyafe na mesia ogbopo.
Nonetheless, elites of the community have taken an initiative to ensure a healthy community by instituting an annual health screening exercise. It seeks to help beneficiaries know their health status and provide the necessary guidelines to seek treatment. The PRO for the Buyi Paramount Chief, Richard Katapu, shed more light on the initiative.
To educate the people against certain diseases, especially malaria. And that is the most prevalent disease in the area. And in fact, the doctors are even doing some referrals so that people who have certain cases that cannot be fully treated here are referred to the bigger health facilities for them to be taken care of.
The community stressed the need for the government to complement the initiative by providing a lab for the CHIPS compound. Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News, Buyi.
The University for Development Studies, Tamale, is set to host Her Majesty Queen Nozizwe Pearl Mulela, the Managing Director of Etwadni Bank and esteemed consort of His Majesty King Misuzulu Kaswetilini of the Zulu Nation, South Africa, for the 7th edition of its prestigious Africa Leadership Lecture Series.
Her Majesty will speak on the theme Ethical and Transformative Leadership for Sustainable Development, addressing a continent in search of new leadership paradigm. Her highly anticipated lecture titled Redefining Leadership for Africa's Future, Ethics and Transformation is scheduled to take off at the university. Addressing a press conference held ahead of the main event, Queen Mozile Pearl Lelela elaborated on the purpose of her visit, shared insight on the theme of the upcoming lecture, and spoke about Africa's developmental trajectory amidst global complexities. She emphasized the urgent need for visionary leadership anchored in ethics, inclusivity, and long-term transformation.
Education for me came first and foremost, and I thought there is no way I cannot support the institution. And then secondly, the young people. Our young people are our future, but sometimes they do seem a bit lost. And so what came to mind was we need to support and help give direction where we can, particularly in issues that are being discussed in these leadership lectures, in this lecture series. So that was why, again, I thought it would be good to be part of this. Then lastly, what is close to my heart, leadership, good leadership. We have to do a lot of work as people of Africa, as people of Ghana, as people in our different institutions of life, to ensure that we have good leadership in those different institutions. Again, I'm a strong advocate for that. I speak a lot on ethical leadership, transformative leadership, because that is where, again, the success of our countries and of our continent in particular.
The Vice Chancellor of the UDS, Professor Saidu Ala Hassan, highlighted the origin of the African Lecture Series, noting that the concept is aimed at promoting high-level intellectual engagement and showing exemplary African leadership.
The idea of African Leadership Lecture Series was conceived in 2011, but was practicalized or operationalized in 2013, when we had the first lecture that was done by a former president of the Republic of Nigeria, Olusegun Obasanjo. He graced it, the first one. So afterwards, we have had 5 other people, former presidents, and they have all delivered speeches, cutting across thematic areas of African governance, leadership, African unity, sustainable development, and
nominees of President Mahama have been confirmed in the Upper West region, bringing the total to 9. The confirmations in Nandom, Laura, Sisala West, Dafiama Buyi Isa and Lambwisi leave 2 districts yet to confirm their nominees. Joy News' Rafiq Salam reports from Bolu.
After successful confirmation of 4 municipal and district chief executive nominees and rejection of 1 last week, the prayer and hope of the Upper West Regional Minister, Lawyer Charles Wong Opozun, and the Upper West Regional Chairman of the NDC, Adib Saani, is that they should be able to go one step further this week by confirming all 5 nominees of the president.
Luckily for us, Drapa had 82%. The MC here, Drapa, can you be standing? He had 82%. Sisala East, Ademu, Honora Ademu had 96.7%. Then one municipal, he had 100%. So we believe that by close of day, Sisala West will also do 100% to challenge one municipal.
Lady Lack first smile on them at Nandom Municipal, Sisala West, and Lamuse District. All the MDAs gave 100% endorsement to the nominees. The newly confirmed Municipal Chief Executive for Nandom, Anton Ziniel, expressed gratitude to the Assembly members for the 100% endorsement. He urged the staff of the Assembly not to sabotage the government reset agenda, but to work together as a team.
We must work together as a team to promote the reset agenda by the government of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. That is the only agenda now. I will communicate the agenda of the government to you, and it will be our collective duty to implement it. Your political affiliation will not matter in this reset agenda. You will do as the government requires, and you will not do anything to sabotage the research agenda of John Dramani Mahama government.
In the Sasala West District, all the 30 members of the Assembly voted yes for the nominee Abu Fuseni Bene. The situation was not different in the Lamuse District, as Nawul Irenius Basimbi had an overwhelming endorsement of the Assembly. Though the present nominees for the Lora Municipal and the Dafima Buyi District failed to secure 100% endorsement, they were confirmed with over 80% yes votes. MC-elect for Lora, Alaji Adams Moazu assured members of the Assembly that the confidence they reposed in him will not be in vain.
I respect each of you and will continue to respect the views and opinions that you will express during our working relationship. We have the same vision and mission, and it is to serve our people. So I am fully with you. Let us work together to improve the living condition of the people of Lora.
A similar outcome was recorded in the Dafima Buyi District, where James War polled 21 votes, representing 85%, with 3 votes against, representing 14.2%. Reporting for Dwayne News, Rafik Salam, Bolu.
In other stories, a women's group in Nadoli-Kalio District, the Dagibili Women's Group, is appealing to Assembly members to unanimously confirm Mary Haruna as DCE. They cite her commitments to women's empowerment and grassroots development. Mary Haruna is the only female among the 11 MDC nominees by President John Dramani Mahama. Rafik Salam again.
The nomination of Mary Haruna by President John Dramani Mahama as District Chief Executive for Nadoli-Kalio has sparked strong concerns, including press conference and counter-press conference against and acceptance of a nomination. However, the Dagibili Women's Group, based in Kalio, in a press conference, overwhelmingly endorsed her nomination. The group commended President John Dramani Mahama for the nomination and described Mary Haruna as a symbol of transformation for women and youth in the district. Turo Emilia is the convener of the group.
Wish to express our deepest appreciation and commendation to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, for nominating Madam Mary Haruna as the District Chief Executive for the Nadoli-Kalio District, as she is confirmed. Madam Mary Haruna, the current Nadoli-Kalio constituency women's organizer, is not just a leader by title, by one who has demonstrated true commitment to the development of women, youth, and the entire constituency.
The women, numbering over 200, say their group was born out of Mary Haruna's initiative and vision. They added that her efforts have gone beyond politics, touching lives through mentorship and empowerment.
She has over the years organized training programs for his in soap making, pomade production, and basic small-scale business management, giving us the skills and confidence to earn a living and support of our families. Her impact goes beyond politics. She is mentor, a teacher, and a symbol of possibility for rural women and youth.
As a result of that, they are urging members of the Nadoli-Kalio District Assembly not to waver in the discharge of their duty in confirming her appointment, describing it as a vote for inclusive leadership and development.
We therefore appeal to the Honorable Assembly members of the Nadoli-Kalio District Assembly to unanimously confirm Madam Mary Haruna, the next DCE. Confirming her is not just a show of loyalty to the NDC's vision. It is a clear demonstration of your commitment to local development and inclusive leadership and empowerment of rural communities. This is our moment as a district to move forward, and we believe Madam Mary Haruna is the right person to lead that charge.
The final decision now lies with the Assembly members of the Nadoli-Kalio District as residents, particularly women and the youth, work closely in hopes of a new era of development and inclusive governance. Reporting for Joy News, Rafiq Salam, KLU.
That's twice now. You were all expecting Rafiq Salam to say wow. And that takes us into the business update now with Benjamin Akakbu.
Let's get into the stories now. And the Ghana cedi has depreciated by about 4% to the US dollar so far in 2025. The World Bank's April 2025 Africa Pulse report has revealed. Now, this is one of the best performances in recent times.
In 2024, the cedi lost over 17% in value to the American greenback. In Africa, the CFA franc used by most Francophone West African countries is the best performing currency, appreciating by about 2.0% to the American dollar. According to the World Bank, the weakest performing currencies over the past year were the South Sudanese pound, the Ethiopian birr, and the Nigerian naira, with reductions in value that exceeded 40% in 2024. It continued that as financial conditions became less restrictive and the gains from foreign exchange market reforms began to materialize, some African currencies gradually started to strengthen. For instance, the Kenyan shilling appreciated 20% throughout 2024 and has remained relatively stable in 2025. On the other hand, the South African rand and currencies that are pegged to the rand have fluctuated slightly in 2024 and so far in 2025 around the values registered by the end of 2023.
Now, the Ghana Mine Workers Union says the 12-month mining lease being offered Goldfields Company Limited is too low for the company to make major investments. This follows the government's announcement of a 12-month lease to Goldfields Limited pending parliamentary approval. Now, speaking to Joy Business, General Secretary of the union, Abdul Momin Bana, called for an extensive collaboration between government and the firm on the matter to send a positive signal to investors.
Government has only indicated that they are, giving a one-year extension of the lease, and that they are going to be working with Goldfields, particularly in the treatment of the stockpiles. 1 year for a mining company, as far as we are concerned, is just too low to be able to make any major investments. If you read carefully government's release, is concerned about exploration, and indeed he believes that Goldfields should be able to put in some money into exploration. And so our expectation is that some further talks, some further conversations should result in a much longer period of time that will enable Goldfields to be able to inject the needed capital, whether it's in the area of exploration or whether it's in the area of business process re-engineering to bring the mine back to a very comfortable level. So our expectations would be that government would have some further talks, because 1 year, in my view, will not allow any serious investor to raise money and, for that matter, commit money only for that investor to withdraw after a year and hand it over to a Ghanaian interest. So there's a need for much bigger and more serious talks between the two sides.
This is the news review segment on the AM Show. The AM Show is sponsored by Waylead Properties. Here's a question. Are you thinking of a rewarding investment you can engage in? Then Waylead Company Limited is your preferred choice for such investment. We'll tell you more after I introduce my guest to you in the studio, Mr. Benjamin Akakbu. It's good to have you.
Well, it's good to be here. It's good to join you. You know, this is quite a feeling. It's been a while since I sat on this platform, and since I moved on from being a broadcaster. It's
really good to have you back. Yeah. And from where you sit as a former journalist.
Right. Maybe you're speaking into my future. You don't know. Maybe. Just maybe.
Benjamin, let's, before we get into the newspapers, I was asking our audience if they were thinking of investing in a rewarding investment, and I was saying that Waylead Company Limited is your preferred choice for such investment. Now, here's why. Waylead Company Limited is a real estate company with several developments to its credit in Accra. And you want to invest in a new development, Willow Lane, where elegance meets tranquility. We provide quality housing at an affordable cost and also with flexible payment options. At Waylead Properties, we also provide you 24-hour security, reliable power supply, and other social amenities to make your stay a memorable one. Give us a call now on this number, 0240-111-119 or 0504-499-999. You can also visit our website at www.waylead.org. Our guest will join us shortly, but Ben and I will start the conversation. And I'm curious to hear from all the news, the stories that came in yesterday, which one struck you the most? From the killing in Ashanti region?
Yeah.
Another petition, injunction application on the Supreme Court, to the Supreme Court to halt the impeachment process of the Chief Justice, all of it. Where's your mind at?
On all of those matters, the killing, in the Ashanti region, we'd have to delve into that. There are many pockets of these things happening, and they are cause for worry. But when it comes to the Chief Justice, so suspended, if I may put it that way, because we have an acting Chief Justice now, Justice Paul Bafo-Boni. I am curious, like I've been mentioning, about the processes so far. As for the processes, they are being followed per the law. But the snippets we've got that technically shouldn't be out here for all of us to be looking, discussing, assuming they are all kosher. And the injunctions on, constitutional stipulations. And then again, even moving away from the injunctions, then you come to the additional petitions that have been brought to bear. It's just like, it's a bit of a circus, but we love the circus because when these things happen, you get to test the law, put the law to the test. And for some of us, whether it's politics or law, we love to see it tested. So here we go, exciting times. But another thing I'm excited about is in the Daily Graphic newspaper, I believe, the funding for some pads for young people, young girls in basic schools. And I think that's a step in the right direction. It's a promise that was made by this administration. And indeed, now some of that is being fulfilled. When we heard the budget statement, there were allocations for that. Promises must be kept unless maybe those promises simply don't make sense. So you remember some weeks back, we were looking at the number of promises that the John Dramani Mahama administration had said it would fulfill within 120 days. And so we're keeping tabs. This is another fulfillment, and it's a step in the right direction.
Well, Ben, because you started talking about the free pads for 2 million schoolgirls, I want to read the story out so we can discuss it proper. It's in the Daily Graphic on the front page. Free pads for 2 million schoolgirls move to restore dignity, says the president. And President John Dramani Mahama has described the National Sanitary Pad Distribution Program as a bold step towards restoring dignity, confidence, and equal opportunity for schoolgirls in the country. Quote, "This initiative is more than just the distribution of sanitary pads. It is a clear declaration that no girl in Ghana should miss school because of a menstrual period." And he goes on to say he's happy to have reached this point where everyone accepts that it is appropriate to invest national resources to ensure that our girls can go to school without fear of becoming the target of mockery. And Ben, I like to say that there are two sexes in this world. We have man and we have woman. Of course, there are conversations about non-binary, male representing and all that, but I ascribe to just man, woman.
Did you follow that UK ruling in recent times?
Tell me about it.
Oh, it's a monumental. I believe around 2010 or before, there were some rulings about who a man was, technically it would talk about the gonads. So basically, the organs that constitutes the male genitalia, among others. And since that time, a lot has happened in between, gender-wise, and But recently, there was a ruling, I think, based on something in Scotland, in the UK.
Is it about bathrooms?
No. Actually enforcing, I've forgotten the full detail of it, but actually enforcing that when you talk of a woman, these are the descriptions. In fact, it specifies that a woman is one born biologically as a woman. So if you are not born as a woman biologically, you don't qualify. Right. But it also said that, of course, for those who had gone through other processes and all of that, they still enjoyed certain rights. It's just that being termed a woman and certain benefits designated for women purely would not apply. So interesting times.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
And I think that this is the step in the right direction, because our biology as women, gives us certain challenges that the world didn't originally make provision for. For example, you find very few companies that have nurseries for nursing mothers, that have, changing rooms for women to go and have the privacy to change in that time of their month, or even have sanitary pads available just in case someone
or
needs
breastfeed.
It. Or breastfeed.
Sometimes, if.
And so if we are doing this, a nationalistic approach to giving young girls the opportunity to go to school without having to struggle with sanitary pads, thumbs up to the president and to Ghana. That brings us to our guest in studio, Professor Isaac Buyi. He's Dean Accounting and Finance, UPSA. Prof, welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And good morning to your viewers.
You promised me last time that you were going to be on time from that time going.
But then there are times that it's beyond the ordinary.
Sir? Anyway, let's proceed. What caught your attention? I mean, the course of the week. Today is Friday. What has been the most topical thing on your mind throughout the week?
I'm sure the Ghana Police Service, before the Easter, I'm sure we're here. Your colleague hosted us and made comments about the Ghana Police Service playing major role during the Easter. And once we don't record any accidents, we don't record major issues during the festivities. I think they should be commended for good job done. So we are here to say they have done a good job and they should keep it up.
Okay.
We didn't record any incidents. We give credence to the new IGP and his team. They played a major role.
Okay.
Before we get into the papers, I had to run this by Prof, since his field is accounting and finance, right? So there was a story that got me
because I came late.
thinking and laughing a bit this morning. Sweetie, do you remember?
Yeah.
So the story, our business, the Ghana cedi has depreciated by about 4% to the US dollar so far in 2025. That's according to a World Bank's report, Pulse report. It's one of the best performances in recent times. And, I'm not saying sometimes we celebrate mediocrity, but at the same time, the fact that we are depreciating and yet it's one of the best we've seen in a long time. What do you think about this? And I mean, where do we get to that level where our currency, is so stable that it gains ground even against the major currencies across the world? The Swiss franc, the American greenback, all of these.
It's a difficult question, but it is, I don't know when we can get there. Stability over a period of time is something that we will always advocate for, especially for our traders and for our trading partners as well. If you bring things from China and every day you have to, or US, you have to look for dollars to go bring those items, and they're not the same value. It keeps changing. It's a worrying situation. I don't know when, but my solution all the time has been that we should rather focus on things that we can even get here, this country. Look at the proportion of items that we bring from outside the country. It's huge. Can we have an import substitution drive to stop things that we bring from outside? It's all about...
Prof, we've tried import substitution in the past. This wouldn't be the first time. It's been decades of toying, tinkering with import substitution.
It is a way
for
our administrators, if they can enforce this. Other countries have done same. South Africa have done same. Nigeria, our nose here, they've done similar things.
You know the tricky question?
Yeah.
Will the ordinary Ghanaian allow it? The ordinary Ghanaian has also developed a certain taste.
Right.
If you've noticed. So even when it comes to rice, the person wants a certain kind of rice. When you hear Thailand, Vietnam, and the rest, basmati, and there are different types. Of course, you can do basmati in different,
I don't know your
different
Which
places.
one do you prefer?
I mean, I don't really, but I wish we could develop that taste for, though recently I read something startling about even brown rice and what it can also bring. But we definitely have to appreciate some level of homegrownness and maybe apply some of Ignatius Kutu Champon's, grow Ghana, if you like, Operation Feed Yourself. Because at this point, even, I was saying the last time, even, what do they call these? Dental floss. Yeah. Dental floss. The one I have in my pouch right now is from China. Dental floss. It's from China. I checked it out the other day and I said, if I had a business strategy and if I had some money, I'd probably start producing that and see what's...
So we have
I can fund it for you,
You can fund it for me.
I can
You know where the challenge will be? You may end up producing and having higher costs than the one that's coming from China, so you will lose out.
Well,
so I think the solutions are we have a lot. In Africa, we can do a lot. If we want to have a stable currency, it's a will. Even you demand for local product. What other people, the population that we have, if all of us want to patronize locally produced items in Ghana, why do we have to look for dollars to go and bring those things out? Agriculture should be another issue we have to focus on.
Right.
Is it the case that the Ghanaian doesn't really understand how beneficial it will be to our economy if we patronize made in Ghana goods, or it's just that we have the taste for foreign goods? Because if we understood that if we patronize Ghanaian made goods, the money stays here, we are pumping or boosting our own economy, then perhaps we will be leaning towards that way rather than always importing things. Is it that we don't understand what we are doing to ourselves? Like Ben said, developing a foreign taste and all that. Do we not understand? I mean, I know we understand, but how many people can really say, for the sake of Ghana's economy, I'm just going to eat Ghana rice? And is the Ghana rice, the taste of the Ghana rice, is it the same as the one that we are used to? How are we improving on the quality of rice that we are producing here? Not just rice, I mean, it's cut across all the other things that we produce in the country.
And if I may just chip in, taste is acquired.
It is acquired.
It's like, recently I had a visitor and her baby and all that. Babies, they can't, whether it's breast milk or formula, they'll stick to that. Once you let them taste honey or sugar.
That's it.
That's it. Then now, a higher deal, baby. Then they start resisting what you've given them in the past. So taste can be created. And especially if you give birth to someone and you start the person on, that's what they know, like Singapore. That's what you've been born to know. You assume this is life and you stick to it. For some of us, we may be a lost cause in a way, but I think we can start from somewhere.
But it's not too late. If some of us, these issues have eluded us, generations coming, we can start with them. It boils down to education.
Yeah. So we need to educate the Ghanaian. Take salt, for example. I used to take a lot of salt in my food. And then I was advised against it. I weaned myself off slowly. Now, when I'm eating, without salt, I'm okay. And sugar, I completely stopped eating sugar. Instead, I use honey. So let's be intentional about boosting our own economy by patronizing made in Ghana goods. We're talking about the free pads for 2 million schoolgirls. That initiative was launched yesterday. What's your impression of it? Before we go on to other stories.
Well, when a girl misses school because of her period, it's not just a day. It is a step backward in her future. And I must also indicate that the policy is great. It's a good start, but sustainability is key. What it means is that we must ensure PAD reach every girl every month without fail.
Think it's sustainable?
Well, that's my question.
And it's a very good question, because I think there was a statement that it's not going to be a one-off thing. They are going to try and run it. So it's a very valid sustainability.
But if you check the statistics over the period, in terms of dropouts, absenteeism, I think Ghana is about 10% or so of every girl at that age by UNICEF.
Which is high.
Yeah. Okay. And 1 out of every 5 girls will drop out of school because of puberty period or where they've got into. It's a worrying situation for all of us. And we can understand that for our women, sometimes you trivialize the issue of a pad. If because of menstruation, a girl will not attend school,
Through no fault of hers, I should add.
Yes.
It's just her biology.
Yes, it's a problem. So we should not trivialize the issue, what our ladies, they go through. Again, having looked at the numbers and statistics over the period, it's about dignity of our women. And we appreciate the contribution for our president, trying to support our ladies in this regard. So we don't have any child left out in school because of menses. I mean, you don't have control. But where we need to have, sustain this is my challenge. I don't know in terms of the budget whether we have allocation for such.
We did in the budget. So there was some,
which is
allocation if memory serves on that.
Yeah.
And I think you see it's also about priorities. It's about prioritizing. If you have a fixed sum of money or even less, if you look at now USA being gone, tariffs and other things, you then decide what are the most important things to me. Not economies of scale, scales of preference, right? And then apply. Something will have to go, but something will have to stay as well.
Anyway.
It should be sustained. It should be sustained, and that's where my challenge has always been. You don't start something in the middle of the world, you abandon the project. If you do that, people will have issues with you as a government, because now they will be giving this part every month, every child, wherever they find themselves in school. If you stop at a point in time, what happened? Would the same people use this issue against you? That is where my challenge is. But always, you need to start something and see how. But I think we should have a sustainable source of funding. If we can get other organizations to come and support our budget in that regard, that's a good thing to start with.
Or find a way to enshrine it, make it a law, something that, the next administration or someone cannot wake up one day and say, we are going to stop this because we don't have the money for it. Back it, some strong backing, maybe put it in the constitution, I don't know. Figure out a way to make it a permanent thing rather than just a policy of this administration. Yeah.
But I'm sure it's part of the 120-day manifesto promises.
Yes, it is.
And I'm sure they are taking every box now that is crucial, because on the 7th of May, I'm sure they are beyond the 120 days. But my other challenge...
Did you say beyond?
Yeah, beyond. I think beyond one... I don't know...
They are not 120 yet. They've not done 120 days.
No, that will be after May or so. Then they'll be done with the 120 days.
Okay.
But the pageantry should not be attached to some of these initiatives. I don't think we'll have to set a roadshow or we'll launch this. Because if you pick this on the internet to launch sanitary pad, we should find a better way to distribute, allow people. We can bring it on media, but when it becomes a frontline topic, distribution of sanitary pad to you.
What's terribly wrong with that?
Well, it fulfills the government agenda, all right. But my point is that the world we are moving out, where we are going at this moment, technology, innovations, we want to hear some of these things in graphic, in other newspapers. Very important. It's good to let your people know the promise you are fulfilling. Today,
but this is also important.
It is. And that's why I said it's a good initiative.
Let's move the conversation forward. Yeah. So, government aims to close witch camps, supports reintegration of accused women. Why do you find that funny, Prof? Because we are moving from sanitary pads to witch camps. The women will come for you, Prof. All right, so Amnesty International, an international non-governmental organization, has called on the government to begin the gradual closure of witch camps and to support the reintegration of the affected women back into their communities or into alternative environments where they will feel safe. Brings to mind that anti-witchcraft bill. Why haven't we passed that yet? Well, it's been passed by Parliament. It's left with the President to assent it to law. That was the last days of... last month or so of former President Koforidua tenure. Let me add one more story and then we can have a comprehensive conversation. Halt suspension of CJ, Old Tafo MP tells Supreme Court. The Member of Parliament for Old Tafo, Vincent Ekwasefo, has filed a new application asking the Supreme Court to halt the suspension of the Chief Justice Justice Gertrude Saki Tokono by President John Dramani Mahama. I said one more, but let me just add one more. Methodist Church prays for Vice President. The Methodist Church Ghana has urged all its members to stand together in prayer for the Vice President, Professor Nana Jane Opukwajiman. It's been a minute I had I caught wind of her, in terms of how she's doing and all. So I think it's a good call that the Methodist Church is reminding us to pray for the Vice President. Hopefully, she returns to post soon, hale and healthy. Prof.
We also add a prayer, and it's something that we have to do. In fact, we started days back when we heard the story that she's not well. We wish her speedy recovery. I don't know whether she's back into the country or...
I haven't caught up
because one of the...
Ben, do you know anything
whether he's back
about the Vice President? Have you heard?
Not much that I can... heard a few things about some things that I don't think I should be putting out there. But we hope she's getting much better.
That's our prayer.
Okay.
And then on the story, the other side, CJ, I think this issue, to a large extent, has been overflocked. It's not come to take away the cocaine saga.
It swept away the cocaine.
Ghana is just fleeting headlines all the time.
You think it's a fun belt of
2 weeks maximum.
So that's not true. Here, if the issue is issuing, we'll issue.
So I don't know how many weeks this issue will travel, but another issue will come, and this one will be a thing of the past. Who has filed another writ?
Ekwasefa.
Okay, he has the right to do that, but this one we expected that was going to happen. Finally, she's been suspended. I don't know what the law says, that if they have issues against you, can still be at post, and so they'll continue the investigation. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, so difficult.
So 146 says that the president may actually trigger that. He may suspend.
He has the right to
the person. So it's one of the clauses in there.
Yeah, which is done.
It's just never been triggered. And something that's also interesting, because it's happened this time, it's a bit of a surprise. But these petitions, practically all of them have faced some such petition at some point. It's just that usually you wouldn't have a prima facie case deemed to have been established. So, and because of the whole process where it's supposed to be in camera, it's supposed to be secret and just forwarded by the president, you probably wouldn't hear much about it. But from, I believe, CJ Wood, Georgina Theodora Wood, to all of them, even to Enin Yeboah and to Sophia Kufu, all of them have had some such, at least one at some point. So here we are. Again, you get to test the law.
Yeah. But I don't know how many, I've not checked the statistics to know how many women have been removed after swearing of a new president. I'm yet to see. And for this particular case, I've not heard a lot from our women advocates. I've not heard.
Because I saw something from some purported.
Why is that a case?
Well,
this is a legal matter, a constitutional matter. Why is it up to the women advocacy groups?
Legal issues in Ghana where they've been on the side of those victims, and they've been on the media talking about.
In fact, Christian mothers put out a statement saying that they are not in support of the impeachment. So that's one.
But there's a problem with that statement.
Years ago, we had a lot of...
No, but
you know the problem?
In terms of women gender advocacy groups, that's one.
Yes, but what I'm saying is, first off, they suggest she's been removed, which wasn't true. And secondly, the Ghana Christian mothers, right, of the Catholic Church came and said, we are the actual body, and we are not sending that communication. This body, we don't know. It's like a body that has... all of a sudden appear. So that's the context I wanted.
It has never happened before. But sitting back, I've been wondering why other women have not taken to the stage to also advise the president, please, can you keep our woman here for us?
Okay, let me ask you something though.
Keep her for the sake of a woman in office.
That is exactly what.
Keep her for.
Do we say, oh, because she's a woman, and I'm not saying she's capable of anything. I am not too. But do we also say that when it comes to encouraging women, just because the person is a woman, even if there are some wrongs or infractions, oh, she's a woman, so is that what we're saying?
No, that's not the issue, the context here. I'm saying that on several issues in Ghana here, we have had a lot of women advocates who have been on other platforms, have called or supported their colleague in such situation. I have not seen. You only mentioned that of the Christian woman and then they had divisions. When a person is qualified, he's qualified. If a woman is qualified, he's already qualified. And the pedigree of our CJ, qualified person. We should also scare people with this. I mean, our ladies, when they have an appointment and they get into such positions. I don't have all the facts in terms of what she's done, but at least we've been told pieces of issues that have been leveled against her. Finally, the government decided to suspend her. We shouldn't scare women. They should still fight for positions like this. And they should also speak for their colleagues when they're in trouble.
Siti, permit me to just say this, because you got me thinking. The Atta Mills, Mahamas, especially since you mentioned that no administration following the appointment of a Chief Justice has done this. If memory serves, the first acting IGP, female,
you got in the
was under their administration. Speaker of Parliament, I think it was Bamford Ado, first speaker, female, was under their administration. Under their administration, there was a CJ who was a woman. The first female EC boss was brought in by them, and we have the first female vice president as well. What signal does that send in respect of that argument you make?
Well, this is one out of, you can count the number against men. Look at the ratio.
But if we look at it generally in our Fourth Republic, what signal does that?
They have been calling for equality all the time.
Anyway.
So we should increase the number.
A former vice chancellor sent in this message on the back of Sweetie, the bit about the sanitary pads. He says, I hope the procurement process for the pads is, and then he leaves us with those dots, suspense. And then he says, I pray it doesn't become another school feeding program. That's how he ends it there. So that's it.
There was a story I did, and I'm curious because I think this morning we spent a lot of time on women. Let's just end it with the witch camps. Prof, I'm curious, you haven't reflected on that yet.
Oh, the witch camps.
Yeah. Is it a wonder why men are not accused of witchcrafts and given the same treatment as women up north, where they'll beat you?
I mean, for a man, if it's not common.
Why we don't have men witches? We don't have.
You only qualify when you have a dark skin or you are not fair. And I'll be my bones.
I don't know where you got the thought from, but oh wow.
I'm sure that's the only.
You've not seen it. They want some people.
Yeah. I'm sure if your skin is not that.
No, but on a more serious note, we've been pussyfooting around this bill and law for so long, and women's lives are still in danger, especially up north when it comes to witch camps and all that. Amnesty International, I think this is a great call, a good call, asking that we should bring some sort of sanity to this matter. Your take?
I don't know any law supporting this whole thing, but if you go up north, here you don't feel some of these things. You don't experience what they go through. But if you travel beyond your borders or go up north, then you understand what they go through all the time. I don't know how many how they're able to identify such people, whether they do those things in the night. I have not seen that one before. I don't know whether you have seen a witch before in your life. So I don't know the medium they use to qualify all that. But certainly when you are old, you reach certain age in your career, you behave some way. Sometimes the way you behave, whether it's a menopausal stage that you get to, and sometimes you exhibit certain characters, and they assume that those things, you be qualified as a witch. I don't know. But we should also watch the space, because all of us will get to that stage one day. Today you are calling someone as a witch. One day you get to that stage and you'll be called the same. The treatment that you want on people to give out to you, you also be receiving such treatment. Yeah.
This is the last story I'll do in the Daily Graphic. Cholera claims 13 lives in Greater Accra Region records 200 cases in 2025. And given the statistics at a regional risk communication and community engagement meeting on cholera, that was yesterday, the regional disease control officer mentioned that there were no recorded cases among infants under age 1, while 2 cases were reported among children aged 1 to 10. And she added that 4 cases were recorded among individuals aged 21 to 30, and it goes on and on. Yeah, that's it for the daily graphic. Cholera is still very much active. Protect yourself. Keep your environment clean, and be sure you're eating hot meals. Prof, over to you.
Well,
your paper in there. You can reflect on cholera, but let's get into it.
Yeah, we are here again, and we are getting close to June, July, where we start having the rainfall. I don't know what we have done as a country preparing ourselves against such an incident, but a lot.
Well, we don't have to wait that long. Yesterday, we spoke to a forecaster at GMET who said that we have actually begun the rainy season, and Ghanaians should take caution. In fact, they were even advising that we should take our weather up seriously. So, you know, climate's change, right? So, and we've actually experienced it. We're seeing rains in months that normally there wouldn't be rain. Like in January, there were rains. You know, so they're saying that this is the beginning of the rainy season. So we should be careful out there.
But look at the number, 13. We are not there yet. Even 1 is a problem. But 13, we read it and we are gone. These are individuals who would have helped the country, but they are gone because of cholera.
Anyway.
The news center. I have a story here. Dr. Siama outlines 4 pillars to reset U.S.-Africa trade. That is on page 3. I've seen reset here. Are we taking the reset agenda to U.S. again? So Dr. Siama outlines 4 pillars to reset U.S.-Africa trade. If you read the story, I'm sure he mentioned about 4 key areas, thematic areas that we should focus in terms of our partnership. That is on equity, innovation, sustainability, and partnership. But the issue is that who benefits? Is it about trade areas or in terms of prosperities and initiative? Is that what we should be focusing on? Or just on trade? There are so many areas that we can also focus, have partnership. You know, Africa, we control about 30% of minerals globally. But our trade relations with the rest of the world is about 3%. The continent controls about 30% in terms of our minerals. Yet, our trade relationship with other countries of the world is about 3%. So there should be a proper partnership in this area. Police seek to block anti-galamsey demo near Jubilee House, and that is, I see a picture of Okatachi Afrifa Mensah. I'm sure he wants to embark on. Gradually, we are getting there. It happened some years, last year, before elections. I'm sure we had a group of people who also gathered at Jubilee House. I don't know whether this is, but they should tread cautiously. They should do the right things. They cannot take the laws into their hands and then do things anyhow. So that is a story. Then there's a story, Unified Africa Tech Strategy Crucial, to build and own a technology for a secured future. That's a Margin ID CEO. I'm sure it's about technology using.
I wanted to hear what Samira is showing in the paper. I see the photo of the second lady, the former second lady, Samira Baumia.
But I think before I come to that, the issue about technology, it's very important in terms of revenue mobilization in Ghana here. You realize that now people are not trading on the streets. They are online platforms, trading. How are we going to get our taxes from these people? GRA, are they up to tax in terms of getting revenue from online people? That's another thing, another conversation we need to have. That GRA should prepare to have strategies that they will be able to use to get revenue or get revenue from such businesses. Samaria projects helps Saboba achieve zero maternal neonatal death. So today has been about women, support for a lady. I'm sure it's of Saboba. You know Saboba? Yeah. The northern region, I'm sure they are struggling with issues of maternal and neonatal deaths. And that's what our Samira want to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's it for the news center?
Yeah, that's for the news
What's
center.
on the back page, though, before we go to Ben?
The back page I have, African business leaders must share AI evolution, MTN CEO calls for. And it's linked to the first discussion that we had, that let's use technology. Now AI has come to stay, whether we like it or not, it must be used.
Some people actually ridicule you when you use AI. You know, they think it sort of takes away your ability to think. So, oh, look, she's using ChatGPT. Yeah.
But
for the life of me, I do not understand why these laggards think that, and I'm using that word in the very meaning of it. They're laggards. They're slow. They will catch up eventually, but it will take them some time. They
what
think
is it,
that.
Laggard?
I think
people are slow to change. Like
it's the extent to which you use AI and where you are using AI. I think I read a story recently about, is it I think the Oscars, that they are going to start accepting AI-generated content on certain fronts. I don't know, I think it's the Oscars, not the Grammys, but AI-generated. I think there's an author, a very prominent author, who admitted recently, I think sometime last year, that she had used AI to write a new book and all of that. The admission is fine, but when you don't admit that it's AI, and even in academic work, that's where plagiarism comes in. And that is where, the last time I did a master's and you looked at, it was clear because they have the checker and everything. If you are once you cross certain thresholds, you can't go beyond that and say, so AI, you can use it for so many things. There are so many things that back then will rack our brains to, how do you write this kind of report? How do you write it? You'll probably ask someone, how do you write a memo? No idea. AI. It can help you in certain ways, but going full throttle with AI, there are some downsides to it. Indeed, sometimes you are not thinking through some things. It's just about, oh, AI does it for you. The day you don't have AI, there you know, whether it's IA or AI, you will find out. So I think we have to be, I agree with you, but there are areas where if you go with AI alone, especially in academia, you will take a tumble. You will.
There are other softwares that will be able to detect whether you use the AI or not. In our field, if you want to use AI to do a work or research, you should let the people know that you took this amount of things from the AI. And once you do that, I'm not sure if you've done anything wrong. Where you use it wrongly, for instance, you have exams to write. You go into the exams room, you're able to go there with your mobile phone, a question is given, you now put the thing into AI, it generates the results the answers for you. You put it there. That is where we have a problem.
For academia, it should rather develop new ways of testing, new ways of, testing, critical thinking and all, because AI is here to stay. Yeah, so instead of the regular ways
but isn't that what the exam is for? To test it then? So if in the test,
because
you're
now
using AI.
You know they have help. You know your students are definitely going to...
Now we have changed the way we set questions. You would think beyond. I don't know other... For us, we've changed the way we frame our questions.
Whereas it's UPSA.
Yes, we give you a question that it will be difficult even to use AI. Even if you want to use it, you struggle.
You have to think.
And even in the exams hall, we've changed the time you have to come and sit in the exams hall. Because, we realized that when AI came, students were getting the exam hall late. So if we had to start the exam at 1 o'clock, students would come in around 1:10, they'll come and sit. And someone will smartly pick the question and send it to the outside. And they will solve the question. So about 15 minutes. No, 15 or 5 minutes at a time, you see the students moving in because they have the question already. Now we don't do that. You come in, I think, 30 minutes or so. If you're not there, you can't write anything. You go out. So we found different ways. I don't know other universities, but my university, we've gone beyond this, and we found a solution to some of these.
But Prof, when a student wants to cheat, it ain't nothing you can do about it.
Of course.
You know, some students are very, very creative in terms of finding ways to just cheat instead of just sitting down and studying.
So I say we have totally eliminated everything. We'll still have pieces of issues to it.
Yeah.
But AI is not bad. It's not bad at all if you can give.
I actually encourage the young women around me to.
But it has a coding aspect too. You learn more. If you want to use proper AI, no, you need to know even how to code, to search for exactly what you're looking for. And it's
code?
Yes.
AI is general.
No, you give
Canva,
a command.
Canva has done something.
A command. You don't just put in. You have ways.
You must be very specific to get a certain specific
and it's all part
response, else you'll get broader response.
Yes, things that you also learn.
I just wanted to add that Canva has developed also AI, some system where it generates codes for you. You know how people have to learn coding to create websites and stuff? A new system where you ask AI to generate codes for you to create the website. See where we are going with this?
The fourth industrial revolution.
Yeah.
And we can't run away from.
Yeah.
That was how we've been talking about GRA. They should find modern way of getting more revenue for online traders.
Then
some people are talking of the fifth wave of industrial revolutions. But again, I will say, let's not get to the point where there's a joke I saw recently. Someone says, humanity has developed to the point where now robots are testing humans to find out they are not robots. You see, when you go on there, click if you are not a robot. It's a robot asking you to click and find out whether you are not a robot. An automaton. You get it. So we have to be careful with this. So if you can generate these codes and all of that, again, I am for AI. When it comes to tech, I am always, eager to learn, not necessarily jump in. So you will not find me on TikTok. It's a personal preference. But to know about these things. And I think the best thing is to have the background knowledge, and then add on AI. Because like this coding thing, so let's say you have no real knowledge of coding, but you use this to code and create a website for yourself. The day the AI is not working, or your subscription runs out, or there's some problem, then we'll see how you code. you get it. So know the stuff. Yeah. AI should be an add-on to help you, I think. But the Ghanaian publisher, NDC base angry over Lands Commission job, MPs propose fund to tackle sanitation, police under pressure to stop Galamsey demo, and this group. I mean, every change of government, you have new groups. CDM, they say Center for Democratic Movement. First time I saw them, I guess it's but I've noticed a certain trajectory. But yeah, it's a group out there. CDM fires Mahamas over CJ suspension. MP files a suit to halt process. So let me just look at some of those stories very quickly, and then I'll get to my next newspaper. So let's start from page 3. Where's this one on MPs proposing fund to tackle sanitation? It says page 3. Okay, so it's actually on page 2. The chairman of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Sanitation and Water Resources, Mr. John Oti Bless, has called for the establishment of a dedicated source of funding to help address Ghana's persistent sanitation challenges. He said sanitation was a daily necessity and stressed that without a sustainable and consistent stream of funding, the country's sanitation sector would continue to face setbacks. Sweetie, It was in recent times we were talking about our landfill sites being full and all of that. If you look at the waste we generate, even in the Greater Accra region, and if you look at Greater Kumasi, that area, I mean, it's huge. Nationally, it's quite a lot. Sanitation is something we can't do without. But there has also been a lot of purported shady deals in the sanitation sector. Tie that into making Accra the cleanest city in Africa, and you'll find out that in some world, in some Dawson. No? Am I talking? I'm not mentioning any brands name. I don't. I don't
in the news
know.
recently, some MPs were even hailing them. But I also think that it's because we don't have a culture of recycling. That is why we generate so much waste in this country. Yeah. We don't recycle anything. We're trying with plastics, but what is the scale of recycling?
I've been to countries where you're going to use the brown paper bag or different things or jute bags.
Yeah.
Very efficient, jute. I mean, you can use it to go to the market, how many times. You just have to put the other things in a set, and you can put them there. Here, so nowadays what I do, because you even go and buy bottled water, they want to give you a plastic bag, and I tell them, no, I don't need a plastic bag. You get it? Sometimes if I have one, and I'm buying a number of things, each one, can you imagine? If you go to, they want to give you a plastic bag for each one. So I end up using maybe maximum 2 sometimes, because now the poly bags are somewhat thinner. So you just put maybe 2 or 1 and everything. But someone will go and maybe purchase 10 items. 9 items are in different bags, and then in the main bag, making it 10. Where will all of that end up?
The sea.
It's good, government. We have a sustainable funding to support sanitation. We need. But if you change the emphasis, what is happening to those companies that produce all of these plastic bags? Can we increase the tax they pay?
Is that the solution?
Yeah, I'm saying that now we are proposing that government should have funding to support sanitation. But I'm saying the institution, the companies that produce these items, I don't know what we're also doing to them. Because other countries, they do.
How about generating laws? How about, because I've always said that human beings, it's like taxes. You know very well, Prof. If you gave the opportunity, and that's why there's a difference between tax evasion and tax avoidance. Evasion is illegal, avoidance is legal. And companies in Ghana will find ways of engaging in tax avoidance where they can. In the US, in the UK, in all those countries, if there were loopholes, and even sometimes you see huge entities trying to, once there are loopholes there, the people will find a way of, employing them.
We should find a better way of not leaving the tax to the government alone. Having a sustainable funding, yes, it's important, but let's also go beyond the box, find a better way of also, if you want to enforce the law, that's another good thing. If you want to let them also pay more taxes to cover the cost that you incur as a government to take care of all these plastic issues. We can also, and then they can also find out in terms of the policies of these companies, how are they able to recycle some of these items? We need to know. Very important.
That brings to mind that conversation I had with the EPA boss, and she said Ghana will begin phasing out the use of plastics. How far with that, Madam? Humbly, I'm just asking for updates because the plastic menace is doing us more harm than good. Benjamin Akapo, back to you.
Well, you mentioned AI, so let me take advantage of AI this morning. And I just Googled something here. So countries enforce laws against plastic bag use through various methods, including bans, taxes, which you mentioned, public awareness campaigns, while promoting the use of reusable alternatives like paper bags, like I said. And some countries impose fines, and even prison sentences for violations of plastic bag bans, while others rely on market-based incentives to discourage their use. I've been in countries where if you get to the supermarket and the rest, it's either you have your brown paper bag or something, or you are not going to make purchases. So these are some of them. You enforce penalties, and we don't have to go far. You can talk of New York in terms of passing a ban on single-use plastics in 2019, but Rwanda has it. Rwanda has it. They have strict enforcement of a ban on plastic bags with potential for prison sentences for anyone caught using them. Why? It's not in Mars or on Mars.
We
can do it
from the best. We can learn other models and come to Ghana and learn and pick, implement those things here as well.
Right. MP files application to halt suspension of Chief Justice. GBA urges rule of law. Have you done that story yet?
GBA, not GBA.
So this,
we've done a first new application.
All right. Yes. I think we spoke about it. CDM fires Mahamas over suspension of CJ, the group that I only started finding about recently. The Center for Democratic Movement has issued a strong statement condemning what it describes as an unconstitutional and dangerous suspension of the Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana, Her Ladyship Justice Gertrude Araba Esaba Saki Tokodo, by President Mahama. In the statement, the CDM said the action by President Mahama marks, quote, a serious breach of constitutional norms, a direct encroachment on judicial independence, and a dangerous politicization of the judiciary. And when I see such statements, my concern always, politicization of the judiciary, I thought that horse had bolted already, per how we even get chief justices. I thought that horse had bolted. I feel we've given too much executive power to a president constitutionally, and so the president has the power to appoint practically everybody. This bit they are talking about has been in existence since the inception of the Fourth Republic. And if you are looking at checks and balances between the three arms of government, control between them, you would realize that it's not up to any. We've created a bit of a monster. You get it. But a serious breach of constitutional norms, that is where I beg to seriously differ. Has the Constitution been breached? I don't think so. And I always point to people who say it's different. They are all Article 71 office holders. Point to Charlotte Osei, point to Daniel Yadomelevo. I'm not saying that in Daniel's case, it was ruled that there was an illegality, right? An illegality that we could not turn back because the hands of justice purportedly were tied on the back of time. But constitutionally, what exactly has been done wrong? So we can say there could be politics, but constitutionally, nothing wrong has been done. Anyway, we'll wait for the courts to
rule. Yeah.
Which is an interesting case for me because injuncting an act that is constitutionally, enforceable becomes a pretty interesting angle. But let's leave the courts to determine those. And then police under pressure to stop Galamsey demo. That's an interesting story there as well. So it says the Inspector General of Police, Christian Tete Youno, his name is Youno, not Younu, has filed an application at the High Court seeking an order to restrict the Generational Rights Protection Society from holding its planned anti-Galamsey protest near the Jubilee House on Monday, April 28, 2025. Here we go again. I'll end with the Custodian newspaper. MPs praise Zoom Lions investment in sanitation sector. Presidency pushes police to stop anti-Galamsey demo, and that's the story I just took. Samira Baumia redefined second lady role. Research report shows. GJA blasts OSP for harassing journalist Gordon Asare Bediako, and CDM opposes tainted committee probing Tokonu. So those are the stories. I mean, we've delved into a number of them, so I'm not going to.
I've not read what this research report said, but I know that Samira Baumia brought some visibility to the position of second lady. I mean, in terms of the second ladies that I have experienced in my young age in this life, I think she's brought some visibility to the role. So I'm curious to hear what's the report findings. And I'll read it for myself. If you're curious, you can pick it up for yourself as well. Prof, let's take your concluding remarks and off we pop.
I think it's on the issue about the free sanitary pad for our schoolgirls. I said my only problem is the sustainability. Will the government be able to provide these every month to the number of ladies we have, girls we have in our schools? If they can do that, that's very good.
Okay. Well, Professor Isaac Buyi is Dean, Accounting and Finance at UPSA, and Benjamin Akakpo is a multimedia journalist, assistant editor
Dean
at
of the AM show.
And my name is Sweetie Abochi.
Dean of AI.
Stay with us. Sports, Benjamin Akakpo's blunt thoughts, big stories, e-corner, all coming up on the AM.
Books, and I know you probably do too, but how do we let our young ones also imbibe that, have that passion? For me, it started with my parents starting me off on books very young. How do we do it for our young ones today? There's someone with a brilliant initiative that she's doing, partnering the YWCA to set up a library somewhere in Adabraka. I'm pleased to give you Elizabeth Irene Beatty. Good morning once more.
Thank you.
For those who have been watching and we had to go on break, they are getting a second take of this. So let's start again with how this started, how it came about that you wanted to partner the YWCA to set up a library.
Right, thank you, Benjamin. The YWCA has got a beautiful space in Adabraka along the Holy Spirit Cathedral. Beside the Holy Spirit Cathedral, it's along Castle Road, very well located for anybody who knows that part of Accra. And it's a room with lovely shelves and no books. Now the idea is to create a library that makes books accessible to children within the Usu, Adabraka, Kokomlemle, Kimbu area and beyond. And not just a library, but a library where the children can see themselves represented. Now, as somebody who writes fiction for children and young adults, you can imagine that I was a voracious reader as a child. And I enjoyed my stories, but to a large extent, most of them were set abroad. The children didn't look like me. Their color, skin color was different. Their hair was different. The kind of places they went to were different. And what we are trying to do now is create a library where the children can see themselves in the stories that they read. So we're calling it the I See Me Project. And I'm partnering with the YPCA.
The I See Me Project.
Me Library Project. Exactly.
Okay.
Because it'd be wonderful as a child to be able to identify with the characters. It gives you a sense of self-worth. You see a child like you having an adventure, it makes you realize that your story is worth telling. You know, you are important, you matter. What you eat, where you go, what you do, it matters as well. And inculcating that from a very early age is what we are trying to do right now.
And I noticed there's a focus on, of course, you'll have works from other parts of the world, but a focus on African writers. But just to chip in on the I See Me bit, I remember speaking to Professor, I think it's Tope Omoniyi. He passed in 2017, you know, very passionate about books as well, many years ago. And he said, look, one of the basic things you can do for children is to start them off sometimes in their own language as well, or tell them stories that they can relate to. So if that child is reading a story about snow in Ghana, that child has no concept of snow. So you're reading it, but you're not really getting it. But if you're talking about Kalulu the hare in, is it Eastern Africa or Kwekwanansi, then all of a sudden it becomes real. And that's what you want the children to see.
Absolutely, absolutely. It helps. If all you see are children with blonde hair and blue eyes, it makes it seem as if their stories are the ones that are important, and not yours. So from a very early age, helping them to identify with the story, build that self-confidence, and see themselves having those adventures, overcoming those obstacles is what we are trying to create. Because when you start early, it makes such a difference. And a lot of children don't have access to these books. Many of us may have been privileged, but not so a good number of children. So making sure that there's accessibility of books is another thing that we are trying to drive with this project. Creating a welcoming space where they can come, identify, connect, read, and also learn. I'll speak a bit more about that when we get to that point.
And not to mention that it also builds confidence.
It does.
Their confidence.
It does, an incredible amount of confidence. It makes you wonder sometimes whether the way in which we were brought up, the diet we were fed on, affects us later on in life, when it seems as if things from another culture are more attractive, more palatable.
When our taste is attuned towards theirs rather than ours.
Exactly. And I'm talking hair here, I'm talking skin color, and we're looking at a whole other number of insidious ways in which unwittingly we might be deferring to another person's culture as more attractive than ours.
Let's consider now the sort of works you're looking at, because you're focusing more on African writers' works for these libraries to also promote everything African. What's the idea?
We are looking at largely African writers, African American, Ghanaian writers. We are looking for stories with characters that reflect our culture, our languages. That's what we are looking at. However, we're looking at representation, not exclusion. So we're not looking exclusively at those, but we would like a considerable percentage. Just, you walk around Ghana, you walk around Accra, most people have dark skin, most people have coily hair, kinky hair. That's what we'd like to see in the library. And occasionally, you will see others from a different culture. So we'd like our children to look on the bookshelf and see themselves, not on the margins, but the main shelf, being featured on the main shelf.
And that's how they can relate. That's how they can see.
Absolutely,
themselves.
absolutely.
How? Because you're trying to get these books through different initiatives.
Yes.
Tell us about those initiatives, and also tell us about how people of goodwill out there, people who are passionate about reading, even big corporations can help the agenda.
Thank you, Benjamin. So tomorrow we are initiating our library. Remember I said it's empty shelves for now, but not for long, because I know that so many people are going to join our vision. Tomorrow we are initiating the library project. We're going to have an introduction. We're going to have a session with Ruby Yairagoka. She's an author. And then we are going to have booksellers present at the YWCA and all supporters of literary arts and reading can come and buy the books that they would like to see on the shelves. So we are going to have a number of booksellers there who will all have the type of books that we are looking forward to seeing on the shelves. And I'm inviting everybody to come buy books. If you're not able to come, we have mobile money numbers. You can send money to the numbers that are on the screen, or you can donate books. You may have a whole shelf of books like that in your home, suitable for children, suitable for young adults. Please send them in.
So if you can't give money and you have some of those beautiful books, you can donate them.
Thank you very much, Benjamin, because what we want to see at the end of the day is a variety of books on our shelves. So if you have books suitable for this cause, we would like encyclopedias as well, books on natural history, geography. Those are welcome as well, because it's a learning center. But yes, books are welcome. We welcome donations, we welcome books, we welcome your presence tomorrow. Come and see the space, come and just take part in the vision and see what you can do to help us bring this to reality, because it's going to be a very exciting place for children in the days, months and years to come.
So we're definitely promoting that, the YWCA in Adabraka. I see me empowering children through representation, and we're asking you out there. In fact, I'm also going to reach out, not just us. Well, we've started here for the media. Other media houses can also take it up. It doesn't end here. Telcos, big businesses, mining companies. This is where sometimes you ought to put your money where your mouths are, right? Join the drive to donate books or cash for books to the YWCA Children's Library in Adabraka, Accra. So if you don't have time to get the books, reach out to Elizabeth Irene Beatty. You can call them on any of those numbers there, and they will make the donation or purchase the books and make the donations on your behalf. If you have books that you want to give, children's suitable books, you can also give them out. We're calling on you to be a hero and help, so let me say hero or heroine, and help our children see themselves in our stories. After all, you know, what's interesting, just this morning we were talking about, how we seem to have a peculiar taste for what is foreign. This could be one of the way of getting the up-and-coming generation to believe in Ghana and to do Ghana and to live Ghana, eat Ghana, drink Ghana, right?
Yes, thank you. That's the general aim, to see themselves validated at this point. So they take pride in themselves, and that then naturally translates to pride in your surroundings, pride in your country.
Okay, so give us the timelines for tomorrow. How long will it be? I believe it's free for all. We're all invited.
Yes.
Right. So what's the time for tomorrow, and what is the plan of activities?
Right. So tomorrow morning it's from 10 to 12 at the YWCA. There's a little conversation about it, and then an author conversation, as I mentioned, with Ruby Goka. And then we'll go down into the library where booksellers are going to be present, and those who come can choose the books. That's the joy of it. Choose the books that you'd like to give to the library, the kind of books that you know that children will enjoy and you'd love to see them reading.
Maybe finally, I know you write children's fiction.
I do.
What are some of your titles, and where can people get them? Are the libraries going to, or is this library going to have some copies of your books?
Most certainly. Because
how about Ruby Goka's?
Ruby Goka's books will be there as well.
Okay.
Yes, we'll be having events with the children. We'll have book readings. We'll have workshops. All these are planned for the future. So we're going to make the library a very comfortable place for children.
So come.
So those who don't have a quiet space in their homes, those are things we take for granted, that a child can even find a quiet place to read. Some of them don't have that. So they'll find that in this library. We'll have events and workshops for them. It'll be a place of growth for children.
Great stuff. Anyway, I think we also have to let the children start with libraries at home. I have a library at home, though, by the way. I don't know, but that would be a nice way to actually start. Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining the conversation. Elizabeth Irene Beatty is a children's fiction writer. She's done this for a while. You didn't mention the titles of your books.
I have a number. I have 8 published books to date.
Okay.
A Saint in Brown Sandals, The 12th Heart, The Dorm Challenge, The Rattling in the Closet, The Lion's Whisper, An Angel in Mucky Shorts, Crossing the Stream, and Flying Up the Mountain. Yes.
Oh, wow. I put you on the spot there. But there you are. Elizabeth Irene Beatty. Let's all join hands, support them at the YWCA in Adabraka tomorrow, and get our young ones reading. If you have books, or if you want to donate money for the purchase of books, you can do that. 10 a.m. to midday tomorrow. Well, that's how we cap off this conversation. But stick and stay with us. Our big stories follow next.
Live from Kokomemle, this is the AM show, and we get into our big stories. But before we get there, Ghana, let's talk about water tanks. Do you know the secret to real water storage? It's simple. If your tank doesn't have the tortoise on it, then it's not the correct tank. That's right, the tortoise tank, Sintex tank, is a champion of water tanks. It is strong and durable and built to handle our Ghanaian weather. Rain or shine, Sintex tank has got your back. So go outside right now and check. If your tank doesn't have the tortoise on it, it's time to upgrade. Join the Sintex tank family today and enjoy water storage that's tough like a tortoise. Here's a number to call: 0244 335 168 to buy one or to find one of our 400 agents nationwide. You can also shop online at sintex.com. Sintex tank, a strong, a tough. Ben will tell you more.
Well, let me tell you about how Joy News, in partnership with an amalgam of professional bodies, proudly presents the next edition of the Public Speaker Series. Now, on Monday, the 28th of April, 2025, at 6:30 p.m., it's going to be live on the Joy News channel, and we invite you to join keynote speaker David Ofosu-Dorte, senior partner at AB and David Africa. There's also going to be Professor Peter Quarte of ESA. There's going to be Professor Godfred Bokpin as well, together with other thought leaders, professionals and change makers, for a powerful national conversation on the theme, Transforming Ghana's Economy, Time for a Mindset Revolution. You don't want to miss this powerful national conversation. Be a part of the change. Now we continue from here. Sweetie will usher us into the next conversation.
Yesterday, news broke out that one person had been killed in an alleged clash between a group of military men and some youth of Nyinahin in the Ashanti region. 3 others have sustained injuries. We've got our tabs on this, and we'll get a report, and then we'll engage our reporter on ground, and then we'll get some security analysts to put the issues in perspective. First, let's take a look at the report.
The identity of the deceased is given as Akwesilala, aka Kushivi, 37 years. The injured include Kofi Ejapon, 44, Alfred Kwate, 24, and Kofi Ousu, aka Juve, 36. According to an eyewitness, Reverend Francis Nyameche, the officers confronted the youth for use of camouflage attire, resulting in a clash. The military allegedly shot into the crowd, resulting in the death and injuries recorded.
The military asked him to take off the camouflage. He obliged by taking off his shirt. They insisted he takes off the trousers too. The deceased told them he couldn't go naked in public. So it resulted in a scuffle. The military started shooting in the air after the youth pelted them with stones. This resulted in the killing of Kushivi and injury of others.
The community has since been thrown into a state of fear. The police have commenced investigations.
Nanaya Ojima joins us with more details. Nanaya, so from what I understand, all this is over the camouflage uniform that the military were asking this individual who's dead now to remove. Tell us more.
Exactly. According to our eyewitness, these military people were in a truck, and the youth were on their way to bury one of their own who is deceased. So the military spotted one of these people wearing the military camouflage, and this is the reason why the military stopped, came out of their truck, confronted the young man and asked him to take off the camouflage. The young man obliged. He did take off the shirt, this camouflage shirt. He also wore a camouflage trouser, so they wanted that also off. And at this point, the young man told them that he's unable to do that because he'll go naked if he does that. And this didn't go down well with the military. It resulted in a confrontation between the two parties. Now, it's believed that the military started shooting in the air. The youth also pelted these military men with stones. Now, at a point, the military were retrieving And it was at the point when they got into their track from the eyewitness that they shot into the crowd, killing this particular individual. That's Kushivi. Now, the reports that we are getting and the press release from the police, they are virtually same stories, aside from the fact that the police couldn't mention when exactly the military shot into the crowd. But the police also gives a story similar to what our eyewitness is giving us. But the police are on the ground and they are conducting some investigation into the issue. They've already picked some spent shells, cartridge shells from the scene. So they've started their investigation and they've assured the public that a thorough investigation will be done. Mind you, this is not the first time that in this month that the Ashanti region is recording some deaths as a result of military excesses. Not so long ago, two young men were picked from Asafo. Allegedly, it was alleged that they've stolen a mobile phone. These people were taken to the military barracks. They were beaten, allegedly beaten, and they were dropped somewhere within the Kumasi metropolis, and these people died as a result of that. That particular issue is presently in court. The military men have already been sent to court and they were remanded by court. This brings to the number of such deaths and that resulted from military excesses 3 in the Ashanti region just this month. And this has raised some concerns within the people of the region.
Right, Nanaya, Ben will come to you in a bit. And Benjamin, I don't know what the fuss is about civilians wearing camouflage. Perhaps when we get to our guest, I can understand what the law really says.
That's exactly what I was about to get into, because in no way, shape or form do we support, any such abuse. But at the same time, in no way, shape or form do we support such abuse. But the point also must be made. If you are impersonating, a military officer or something of the sort, it comes with some consequences. Not death, of course, that's not what I'm suggesting. But do we also have the education in terms of what can be done? Because there is some camouflage that, there are some, should I say, fashion elements that make their clothes with camouflage. But what you see the person wearing is different. If it mimics the exact military, attire, then it becomes something else. And that's where really the trouble is. Nanaya Ojima, in your interactions with these people, what was the take in respect of that? The person donning camouflage, military uniform.
So according to the people, they know that to some extent it's a crime or it's not lawful to wear something that belongs to the military. Now, that is the reason why this young man obliged when they told him to take off the shirts. He knew that he had committed an offense. According to the people within the community, he had committed an offense, so he obliged to all that they said or they told him to do. Now, it was at the point that they wanted to take his trousers, which is also a camouflage, that this person, hesitated. And according to them, he told them that if he should take it off, he will go naked. He had nothing wearing beneath. So he pleaded with them to allow him to, go in the camouflage. And this didn't go down well with them. They still wanted him to pull off this trouser that he was wearing. It was at that point that the people tried to intervene, leading to the confrontation. So according to them, the young men and other people who are around who saw the things unfold, they actually agreed that the young man, Kushtivi, had gone overboard with the wearing of the uniform. He shouldn't have done that. It's wrong, according to them. So he obliged, and they all accepted. But it was at the point that the military wanted him to show his nakedness by taking off this camouflage that the people believed that or thought that it was.
Can we confirm that maybe he had nothing underneath, for which reason if he took off those trousers? Because you have to understand from the military perspective, that uniform belongs to the military if it's proven that that was actually official military attire. which should not be used by a civilian. Mind you, I keep saying, I'm not justifying what has happened. We are trying to forestall this happening another time, which means that they can't take the upper part and leave the lower part. It doesn't belong to you. It shouldn't be in your hands. Was there any attempt to get him maybe something else to cover his nakedness while maybe the trouser could have been taken? Because I'm struggling to understand what exactly happened in that regard.
We are unable to independently verify that, and probably we'll get more information as we go into the community and try to speak to different sources within the community. We are unable to verify that he was offered something else to replace the military uniform that he was wearing down.
It would be interesting to even find out how he procured this military uniform, what channels he used to actually get it, because I can't just get up and put on naval attire without there would be consequences for that. But we also have Adib Saani joining the conversation.
Before we go to Adib,
were you saying something?
What I wanted to say is that we are unable to independently verify that what he had on is actually a military uniform or something that looks like a military uniform. So we'll try to find out more about what he had on, if possible, get exact pictures of these uniforms, that the camouflage that he was wearing at the time of the incident. The picture that we are showing now are old pictures of this young man that we were able to get from people within the community. But what he actually wore on the day, we are unable to say that these are the same camouflage that we see being on display on the television.
I'm reading that the community is in total darkness. Can you confirm that?
Very true. These are people who were saddened by the death of one young man who they say was very popular because he was a commercial transport owner. He was very popular within the community. So upon his death, they had all gone to mourn him and also try to take him to the cemetery for burial. And on their way there, getting this or seeing this also unfold, with 3 people injured, one of them in critical condition who had to be transferred to the Koforidua Teaching Hospital, is something that was too much for the community to bear on the day. Now, with the police presence in the community, some of them were reassured of getting justice. So they are now trusting the police to go into the matter, find the truth, and if possible, those who are culpable are brought to book. So they are now trusting the police to do a very good investigation on what has happened.
Sweetie, before we bring in Adib Saani, just 2 quick points. Again, he makes the points about the fact that we can't independently state that what he was wearing at the time was military uniform. But again, as far as I know, and I'm sure Adib will clarify, you shouldn't put on anything that bears a striking semblance to what officials would use. If it's camouflage, like I said, the fashion type, that's different. But if it's very much akin to what the military itself would use, that's something else. And let's also bear in mind, anybody, putting on something that is essentially like what a soldier would put on, then if they acted in a certain way, it could qualify as impersonation. And then sometimes something would happen and then we would say, oh, Papa Soldier or a soldier did it, when in fact the person may not be a soldier. We have to look at it holistically.
Let's listen to the security analyst, Adib Saani, now. Thank you for joining the conversation, Mr. Saani. So what does the law really say in terms of civilians wearing camouflage?
A very good morning to you, your viewers, and of course your production team. There's a law on the restriction of use of military uniform and equipment, actually 1967, NLPD 177, and it's quite categorical about military uniforms that are not supposed to be worn by civilians, and it also states that unauthorized persons should not sell or buy military uniforms, and that licenses are not supposed to be issued for the importation of such uniforms as well. So the law is very categorical about the illegality of wearing military uniforms. And like Ben said, anything that bears a striking resemblance, even in registering your company, you take a big name like multimedia group, then you go to register multimedia groups just by adding the S. I mean, unsuspecting people might think that is the original multimedia they know. So anything that bears a striking resemblance, I think that's the gray area in the law. It has to be looked at to include that aspect as well. Because you can go to court and the person goes like, this is not your uniform, for crying out loud, you know. So we need to look at that part of the law. But, you know, it as much as, like has been agreed, we detest persons wearing military uniforms because we know the security implications. Remember some time ago, an individual dressed in a security fatigue was caught somewhere at a Buyi near the presidential villa. Then there's this gentleman who was so bold to the extent of even attempting to board a military flight, even though he's not a soldier, and he was in military uniform. We've had several cases or incidents involving criminals wearing security uniforms to engage in all manner of criminality. And it has become a fashionable thing. I see a lot of politicians wanting to be called commanders, wearing the military fatigue, and nobody seems to be doing anything about it. But when the average Joe person in the street wear it, then you have sometimes, you know, these young officers full of adrenaline wanting to strip them naked. And I think it's unacceptable because there's no law that says if you see anyone wearing a military uniform, immediately there and there, the person should go naked. No, it is an illegality. So what do you do under the law? You arrest the person, you go and hand the person over to the police for the police to do their investigation. I remember back at the University of Ghana, I was a vendor. I mean, one day we were sitting outside of Commonwealth Hall, and one of our guys was in the military trouser. Then from nowhere, a military vehicle was passing by, stopped when they noticed, got down from the vehicle and asked him to strip, like in front of everybody. The guy complied because he was, of course, scared he might be arrested or something else might happen to him. So the thing regarding getting people to strip for wearing uniforms, I think it's something that should be stopped. I don't think that has been enough to disincentivize people from wearing the uniforms. I think we need a much more pragmatic, scientific approach to dealing with it. Asking people to strip, in my opinion, hasn't really helped much.
Right.
If you look at what you referenced, NLCD 177, 1967, it talks about the fact that no person shall wear or use any military uniform, equipment, accoutrements, or other material unless he is, it goes on, a member of the armed forces of Ghana. But I just saw an interesting story, and it's actually dated the 14th of April, 2023, and it's from Ghana Web. So I'm quoting with caution as well. But assuming this is true, in there, what Ghana's law says about restriction on use of military uniforms, I see something pertaining or purporting that Peter Lanchini Tobu, who has actually been an executive secretary to an IGP, says there's no law against wearing military camouflage in Ghana, and he's the member of parliament for Wa West. I just want to quote him and find out whether there's a lacuna that we ought to be addressing and whether that act is still in place, because according to the story, he states that there is no existing law in Ghana barring the wearing of camouflage by civilians. Let me just quote him. The principle is simple. If you're a police officer, you dress in a uniform to show that you are an officer. And if you're a soldier, you are a soldier by training, but the uniform is symbolic of who you are. And so if you are not a police officer or a soldier and you are wearing army uniform, they, that is the military, have the right to question you. The law restricting the use of military uniforms by civilians applies only to military uniforms actually used by that's what he says, a military, let's say professional. Whether they have stopped using it or not is immaterial, but that uniform must have been part of a military wear in Ghana or abroad. Then he talks about the fact that the solution lies in banning the import of similar, types of uniform. Where do we lie? Is that clarity there? And moving forward, to forestall any such altercations and maybe death, what do we do? What should be the way forward?
Well, the law, I know. I mean, it's an old law, just as the arms law. We need to look at it. I think a lot of things have changed over the period. And it is a law that is so old to the extent that it is almost forgotten. Because when I speak with a lot of people in the streets, I ask them, do you know there's a law? They go like, what law is it? We thought it's just a practice. It's just a custom, don't wear the uniform. And that's it, So we need to look at it and, of course, address the gap in that law as well. Anything that looks similar to security uniforms should be bad. But the thing is, we have some individuals who procure these uniforms for different reasons. Some for, TV production or perhaps movie production and all that. But you would have to seek the permission, the tacit approval of the military before you'll be able to do such a thing. So there's a need also for public education. I mean, people in their quest to look up, to look like, they are in charge, the command, commander. People, I don't know what it is about commander. I see a lot of civilians, they love to be called commanders. And you would have to demonstrate that, yes, indeed, you're a commander by wearing the camouflage, which is illegal and should be discouraged. But I think we need to re-look at our approach. Asking people to strip certainly is not the solution. And also, Ben, about the altercation that resulted in the death of the gentleman, in the use of force, there are laws, okay?
Right.
They say that you have to use force that is equal to the threat. So if these individuals are not armed and they are just screaming, shouting competition, you are not in a position to use deadly or lethal force. Okay, I was not there, so I wouldn't be able to tell. However, if the people pose an immediate threat to death or injury, then you have no option but to use that deadly force. And you see, I am an operational person.
Just to substantiate, Adib, just to add on to what you're saying before you go on, we have two messages here. One says you take a man's life because he's wearing military attire. Done. That's what he says. But there's another message that also says, why are they showing only this video, but not showing the videos where the youth were throwing stones and trying to take one of the officers' rifles? We do not have that footage. But then that would be interesting in respect of what you are saying, wouldn't it? Please go ahead.
Absolutely, absolutely. If they pose an immediate threat to the officers, then the officers have every right to defend themselves by shooting at the crowd. Do you remember the story of this young man? I've forgotten the name in the U.S. during the Black Lives Matter protest. He was armed. Then, according to him, he was attacked by the protesters and he shot at them in an attempt to flee. The issue gained international notoriety. It went to court. And in the end, he was discharged. He was found not guilty of the killings. Okay? So if they feel threatened, they have every right to shoot. However, the threat shouldn't be exaggerated. That is why it is imperative that we do an investigation into this matter. Forensics, then ballistics. You'll be able to know at what point the gun was fired and at what angle, and did the person or the deceased posed any immediate danger to the officer. And like I indicated, Ben, I'm an operational person. I mean, I've received this training. I even lecture on this thing often. The thing is, sometimes, you see, these are young officers. Like I said, sometimes they are full of youthful exuberance and, that adrenaline. Don't put yourself in a sticky situation. Always assess. This crowd I am going into, how would they respond to me? Would it pose any danger to me? I mean, do we have enough manpower, fire? Do we have enough strength to go in and sort of neutralize them? But sometimes we don't assess. We just go in, hey, buka, buka. Then in the end, you might find yourself in a very sticky situation which would have been actually avoidable, like I indicated. And as you have also said, you and I were not there, so we might not have the full picture. That is why it is important the police does an investigation, the officers involved, because this is an officer involved shooting. They would have to be debriefed. Their weapons would have to be taken from them for investigation to continue. I understand some shell casings were picked up. We need to know, did the bullet come from the soldiers or it came from elsewhere? Perhaps it's a different person who wanted to shoot at the military and it ended up getting one of them. We wouldn't be able to know. Okay, anything is possible at this point until an investigation is conducted.
While we wait for that investigation or the conclusion of that investigation, what security threats does this incident pose to that community in particular? And Adib just confirmed to us that the community is in total darkness in connection to this. What are the security threats that we should be looking forward to, so that we can, they say to one is to be for arms, so yeah.
Yeah, I am concerned about the possibility of reprisals by the community. Immediately, I think the military high command, together with the IGP and other security chiefs, should go in, see the chiefs, see some important stakeholders there, and appeal to them for comment, assure them. And I speak also as a communicator and, of course, a change management expert. Assure them of their outfit's unflinching commitment to conducting a thorough investigation into the matter. They have to make a call to the youth to exercise restraint. Otherwise, you might have some few hard nuts, some few extremists taking advantage of what has happened to drain anger towards the military. And we wouldn't want that, because like I always indicate, there is no way the military or any other security agency can succeed without the civilian population. We need to harness our relationships based on mutual trust and respect. We need to get the civilians to cooperate with us so we are able to get actionable intelligence, because most of the intelligence comes from civilian sources. But if you have an antagonistic relationship with the civilians, then it creates a lot of problems. So I think there's still a window of opportunity to de-escalate and to get the community members not to do anything silly and rather resort to the law.
Right.
Okay. And I think that is very important at this point.
Adib Saani, security analyst, thank you for joining us for this conversation.
And that's a rather sad, development there. And we're only delving into it to ensure that the right things can be done moving forward. Now, the question, are you looking for a home in a prime location? Nestus Homes has got you covered. Our properties in Tema Community 26, just behind the Palace Mall, offer a serene atmosphere, easy access to transportation routes, and social amenities. Off-plan prices start at 35,000 USD, and that's US dollars, of course. You can reach out to them on 0531 014 440 or 0531 014 447. You can also check out their website at www.nestas.com.gh. Nestas is Nestas, sweetie.
We are still talking about that exclusive Easter sales promotion happening now in all CompuGhana branches. Now, from now to, in fact, it started from the beginning of the month till the end of this month, you get up to 50% off when you buy top brands like LG, Samsung, TCL, HP, Lenovo, Tecno, Infinix, Itel, and many more. You can win what? An 85-inch smart TV, iPhones, laptops, juicers, rice cookers, and so much more. All you have to do is shop for laptops, printers, television sets, air conditioners, and many more at CompuGhana. With a minimum of 1,000 Ghana cedis purchase, you can enter into the draw by simply texting your invoice number to the special short code. Now, the raffle draw is on the 2nd of May, so rush now and don't miss it. Shop online at www.compughana.com or visit any of our showrooms nationwide. Or if you want to give us a call, here's the number to call: 0302 752 020, or send us a WhatsApp on this number: 0243 143 143. Benjamin, what's the title of your blunt thoughts for us coming up next?
A shaky judiciary, a sick hospital, and a spicy minister in Semwa, Ghana. That's what I'm serving you right up next. Do stay. Welcome back on the AM show. Time now for me to share with you my blunt thoughts. And this morning I've titled it, A Shaky Judiciary, a Sick Hospital, and a Spicy Minister in Semwa, Ghana. A shaky judiciary, a sick hospital, and a spicy minister in Semwa, Ghana. Now let me just clarify. When I use spicy here, spicy can be used to mean energetic or, spoiling for a fight, ready to argue. That's the context in which I use spicy this morning. But come with me as we start from the Tamale Teaching Hospital and everything happening in between there. So we know that the hospital's doctors have acted on the health minister's visit, surprise visit, if you like. Some of the developments, the doctors have suspended emergency and outpatient services. There have been some interactions with them because they say when two elephants fight, in this case, hospital staff versus the minister, is the common people, the grass, that end up suffering. They've cited a hostile working environment with a lack of basic supplies and insults from officials. And yesterday there was some interaction there where they also spoke about how they are trying their hardest to manage with what resources they have. There's ongoing care for admitted patients until discharge, and they have sought unqualified apologies from the health minister and MP Alhassan Shaibu Suini. Of course, we know that on the back of this, the sector minister, Kwabena Mintah Kando, has actually yesterday, he made a donation to them, some equipment to them, I think some 30 plus pieces of equipment to them, and also in a way apologized for his over exuberance. I think it's a step in the right direction, but I think also we should be very measured. I'm not saying that either party is fully right, but I also think that spectacle could have very well been avoided. Now, there's also a demand for essential supplies, equipment, and infrastructure improvements. Let's go to the next slide. So what exactly happened? He says, I had absolutely no intention to disrespect any doctor, but respect is reciprocal. That's according to Kwabena Mintah Kando. I do realize that there was a bit of a standoff there, but this bit about respect being reciprocal, when I look at both sides, I have my own picture, and I still feel that entire scenario could have been avoided. And some have also suggested that that could have been done in camera, off the cameras. It's also possible that could have been done. Another thing, when you have a camera behind you and you are engaging in something of this sort, you have no control because whatever is captured will make it into the news. Can we do some of these things without sometimes the spectacle and all the razzmatazz and everything in between? Maybe lessons learned. Next slide. So, the health minister's response after the doctors' healthcare suspension, appeals for negotiations from the doctors that have suspended their services. Now he's being more specific. He's, asking for negotiations. He has emphasized commitment to improving staff conditions. He has called for better procurement and maintenance of hospital equipment and has donated 35 medical items, including EEG, ECG machines, ICU ventilators, and medicines. I believe Dr. Insiansari, who used to be the spokesperson or the advisor, presidential advisor under Koforidua on health, at a point, he's made mention of the fact that, yes, but these institutions, the hospitals as well, when it comes to IGFs, yes, there are caps, but they can generate about 10% and use it internally for certain things rather than always resort to buying. It's something we can contemplate, but the hospitals can also do a lot more. Let's go to the next slide. On the emigration of Ghanaian health professionals, though, you would notice that the picture is stark. 50% of our doctors have emigrated or gone to other parts of the world. 24% of nurses have also left the country. If you recall, just about 2 years ago, it was like a fan belt like that. Let's go to the next slide. So we are not in the best of places. When it comes to our share of the health sector budget, in terms of the 2025 budget versus the Abuja Declaration, which sets a target there, the health sector allocation is 6.4% of the budget. If you look at the Abuja Declaration, the target is 15% of our budget. So we still have quite a long way to go. That's about 9%, thereabouts, almost 9%. Let's go to the next slide. And then if you look at a breakdown of the 2025 health budget, 73% will go into compensation of employees. That leaves precious little for real infrastructure work. 27% will then go be spent on goods and services plus capital expenditure. This is part of our problem. This right here is part of our problem. It's like the national problem of a lot of what the state accrues in a month going into paying public sector workers. The same is being replicated here. How do we develop like this? Next slide. Shall we go to the next slide? And again, let me just say here, when I hear also some people in the minority, criticize the system and talk about all these things, it's good to talk about it, but let's not forget this problem has been around for the last 8 years as well. Did you solve it? So let's be measured. Doctor-patient ratio, Ghana versus the World Health Organization. You would realize that in Ghana, you have one doctor to about 6,500 people, averagely. Can you imagine that? 6,500. I'm not holding brief for the doctors, but we must face the facts. If you come to the WHO recommendation, it is 1 to 1,000. That's more than almost 7 times what is required. Let's go to the next slide. And then in terms of the reasons they give for migrating, poor working conditions, which we all know of. Let's go to the next slide. But then I want to wrap up with this very quickly. And before I do, let me make this clear. In this Fourth Republic, I think some people don't know, so we tend to. There have been petitions against many of our chief justices. This wouldn't be the first time. So let's walk through some of them. Georgina Theodora Wood. There was a petition for her removal in 2013 under John Dramani Mahama. That was there in the Fourth Republic. Sufaya Kufu in 2018, there was a petition against her under Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Former Chief Justice Kwesi Enin Yeboah, 2021, there was a petition against him under Akufo-Addo. Gertrude Tokonu, there was a petition against her under Akufo-Addo. If you remember that petition by Professor Azan. So let's just put that into perspective. It's not as though this were the first time that this was happening. It's just that in these instances, there was no establishment of a prima facie case. Now let's come to this, and I'll be very quick with it. The Chief Justice, Gertrude Tokonu, has been suspended, which is in the Constitution, right? 146. But the number of petitions so far seeking her removal, it has increased from 3 to 5 so far. And the responses, 3, of course, on the back of the initial 3 petitions that were leveled or brought against her. Next slide. So let's quickly look at the allegations, right? I don't have enough time to go through all of them. Subsequently, we'll look at them. Things that shouldn't even be out are out, so we might as well talk about them, right? Alleged misbehavior and incompetence during a Supreme Court hearing on November 14, 2023. You can go and check the records on that. Then, one of the petitioners claims the CJ's conduct led to his arrest and removal from the courtroom. And that is some allegation of abuse of power there. The petitioner says false media reports portrayed him as disruptive. Then the Chief Justice breached Article 144 by requesting appointments to the Supreme Court. And you remember that incident as well with the list of names that purportedly, or should I say, were delivered to President Akufo-Addo, or I should say former president. Let's go to then when you come to the next one, court records allegedly left out key events from that hearing, specifically bias and procedural irregularities in ex parte applications and early hearings. And that suggests some sort of manipulation of the court processes. Misappropriation of funds during personal travel with family, that has also come forcefully into the fray. And the Chief Justice supposedly tampering with court records in the Jachi Kwesen case. If you remember, that member of parliament who had to go through what he did and then win another election, a by-election, if you like. But let's go to the next slide and also hear from the Chief Justice, rules of natural justice, right? What has she said in response? She says she has apologized for any bad experience, but denies any misconduct or incompetence on her part. She also emphasizes collective court decisions by a panel, not any single justice, suggesting also that when they take, a decision, and as we know in court, it's not just one person saying this or that. But of course, is there any influence there? Only time will tell. He cites Article 1273, where justices are immune to or from suits for actions in their judicial roles in that capacity. She triggers that, she cites it, and she also says that it's already been reviewed by the President and Council of State in 2024, and there was no breach found, or there were no breaches found, as we know from that earlier petition. The next slide, and that's where we're going to cap it off. Again, she says court records and search reports are managed by the court staff, not the Chief Justice, and so she is not to blame, and that all administrative steps were lawful and in line with the judiciary's election case protocols. That in terms of the travel policy allows accompanying family. The imprest was accounted for, and she says there was no wrongdoing. In fact, she says she retired the rest of some of these sums of money. And finally, that she responded only to an unusual report. Investigations were conducted by appropriate bodies and not the CJ directly. So here we are. The claims versus what her responses have been as well. In the midst of all of this, we need to think Ghana, not think NDC or MPP. Like I've said, whether it's the health situation or the CJ situation, let's love Ghana and stop this NDC MP. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. I love Ghana. These have been my blank thoughts shared with you, raw, hot, unedited, undiluted. God bless Ghana and make her great and strong. Thank you for watching.
Well, you're still watching the AM show on Joy News. And just like the promo that aired before this one, and if you're an ardent viewer, listener, you know that this is not new. Joy News, in partnership with an amalgam of professional bodies, speaker series. And this one is the latest. In the studio with me to discuss is Mr. Samuel Nkumtenkrang. He is a member, amalgam of professional bodies. Sir, welcome to the program. Mr. Tenkrang. Did I get the name right?
Yeah, you got it perfect.
How are you doing this morning?
Sweetie.
Yes,
Sweetie Abochi.
Okay, so let's get the conversation started. When I saw this, I was curious to find out how different is this from all the economic, the forums we've already had on the economy, in fact, since this new administration took over. So what's different? What are you doing differently?
Thank you for having me. This is not the first time I've been here. Yes, let me begin this way. It's about 2 years ago when some of us came together to stimulate public discussion about policy, state affairs, if I may put it that way, so that we all, if you like, see ourselves involved in building and developing our country. We all have a stake, yes. So that was very early 2023. We had a couple of professionals beginning the process. We've dialogued on democracy, and in fact, I should say that the backdrop has been the Fourth Republic, or Fourth Republican experiment from 1992. We sought to stimulate discussion as to what the dividends to the populace, the citizens, have been. And along the line, we were able to, get people talking. And for now, there are a lot of organizations, institutions, CSOs, individuals are talking about Ghana. And it is good. That's democracy.
Yeah.
But we realize that, I've lived in Ghana for some time. I have local experience, I have foreign experience, and I can see what our leaders also see. Locally and then externally. But the challenge has always been, the impact on the citizenry. We'll be talking about macro, micro, and all the technical, jargons. But, Sweetie, I believe you know that what really matters is here, your pockets, how all these policies affect lives and livelihoods. Right. So we've talked about democracy, we've talked about generally about development, but this time around, we know our economy is, deeply challenged. It's not been now, it's been over the years. And if I may, 1983, were you born?
No, but I've heard of the...
We had a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
And I'll begin that way from, 1983. how Ghana was deeply challenged. There were various structural, adjustments and development programs that came into force. What did we learn? What did we learn? Then we, and then under military regimes, we didn't have democracy.
Yeah.
You couldn't speak your mind like we are doing now. And, thanks to the 1992 Constitution, we entered a fourth Republican regime. We have so much freedom of the press. Liberties cannot be trampled over. But if I may speak, from my own personal experience, I think the fourth Republican Constitution has been both a cause and then, has brought us some problems.
Okay.
The liberties, I will end.
Okay.
The liberties, we are taking liberties too much. And for that matter, our leaders are not really, coming up with solutions. They plan policies and the implementations are such a big challenge. So this forum, is special in the sense that we are putting together, development economists. We know Professor Kote. Yes, we also know Professor Boakye. They are, actually experts in their own fields, accounting, finance, development policies. And then the main speaker, who is a guru in, development policy analysis and also offers implementation advice across Africa. Okay. So this is what we have, or we are going to present, and we think that is going to be special. The issues are going to be, brought to the fore burner, and then we will discuss. There will be interactive sessions, and people will also be, listeners will also be invited to comment.
Right. I like how you trace the problem from, way back, even before I was born.
Yes.
And how most of the solutions or policies that are generated that governments or new administrations come up with don't really meet Ghanaians at the point of their needs. And I hear you too. I think you're saying that it's a mindset problem, which brings me to the theme. Transforming Ghana's economy, time for a mindset revolution. Yeah. What exactly do you mean by a mindset revolution? As briefly
so basically, I will not go too far because, the experts will come and talk about them. Sometimes I go beyond.
It's okay.
Yes. Mindset, yes. So we realize that the policies are not working. We have mostly traced to the challenge, the human factor. The human factor. We are good at, developing policies,
Yeah.
We have National Development Planning Commission. They come up with beautiful plans. We have, various social policies, public policies, in business, in private, and all that. We all, we know how to plan.
Right.
But the challenge is with the implementation. Yes, our leaders, to me, they all mean well. But when it comes to the human factor, building consensus, building inclusion, so that we all, tackle issues together, that is where our problem is.
Which begs the question, this mindset revolution you're talking about, is it the mindset of our leaders or the mindset of the citizenship?
Everyone. Everyone, whoever has a role to play. Like I began by saying that it is not only about leadership. We also have, micro leadership, wherever we find ourselves. And leadership of self. And where, how do we define, what is good for Ghana?
Right.
And for that matter, how do we, marshal our, citizens' support to ensure that we move together and achieve. So the mindset, the mental side of it must be tackled. Goal setting, how do we define success for ourselves and for Ghana?
Okay.
And how do we move together? Okay. And it's mindset, attitudinal problems. Our culture, we talk about public culture. I mean, when you go to public, offices, you know how they do things is different from how we do things. Enjoy FM, isn't it?
Okay, so my penultimate question, before we get to the details of this, the fallouts from this, lecture, speaker series, are they going to be transformed into policies? What are you going to do with the outcome of this dialogue?
Well, as we always do, we will talk, and we expect the policy makers to, pick the notes and learn lessons, because we are not learning lessons. We are not learning lessons. So, well, I mean, we know Professor Kote, his institute, they normally issue, if you like, communique or whatever. Professor Boakye, we always hear about him. And then the lead speaker, who is an advisor, he plays a lot of advisory roles in policy development and implementation. We'll find a way to issue, if you like, a communique or a paper on the what we want our leaders to do and follow up.
Well, that's our time, but just to remind you that this is happening on Monday, the 28th of April, 2025, starts at 6:30 p.m. sharp, and you're all invited to join us. You have about 30 seconds to ask them to come on board. And
yes, and this is in studio.
Yeah.
This is in studio.
Yeah.
So I suppose there will be interactive sessions where listeners will be asked to phone in, and then also the panel discussion will be very, very interesting. Please, let's all do this together for Ghana. It's not for individual. It's not for any party. Let's all come together and join one party, which name is Ghana. Thank
Party
you.
Ghana. Thank you so much.
Ghana.
Mr. Samuel Inkum Tenkrang is a member of the Amalgam of Professional Bodies, and they, in collaboration with us, Joy News, are bringing you the Professional Bodies Speaker Series. Make a date on Monday and don't miss it. Stay tuned, because we're bringing you e-corner and some other conversations when we return from the break.
Welcome back on the AM Show. It's proudly sponsored by Waylead Properties. We provide quality housing at an affordable cost and with a flexible payment option. Well, joining us in the studio next, we have a conversation. Kingsley Asumang Boateng is a pharmacist. He joins the conversation. And we also have Annabelle Apia, a medical representative from Bliss GVS. They both join us this morning as we get into WMD 2025. Good morning, lady. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
I like the way you were sharing up, Paul, right before we came back on. I knew that would get you laughing. Anyway, so briefly introduce yourselves and tell us about your roles at Bliss GVS. I'll start with you. They say ladies first, right? All right. So we're going to have to do something briefly. I'll come right back to you. Let me come to you first. Tell us about yourself, your role at Bliss GVS Pharma.
So I am to educate the clients, the hospitals, healthcare professionals about our products, and also ensure that good therapeutic products are selected for patients' need to treat their conditions. That's what basically I do. And also help to ensure that our products adhere to the ethical principles of pharmacy practice.
All right. So thank you very much. Let's try one more time with Annabelle. We couldn't hear you so well earlier. That's why I had to do this again. So let's hear you again, Annabelle.
Oh, okay. So initially or previously, my name is Annabelle. Let me just start everything again. again. My name is Anabia. I'm actually a medical representative for Bliss GVS Pharma, and my role at Bliss GVS is actually to educate health professionals, as he said, to educate them on our drugs, specifically the pharmacodynamics of the drug, pharmacokinetics of the drug, and also to gather market feedback, right, back to our people. So if there's anything that needs to be done on ground, they do it.
I see. And when it comes to World Malaria Day, how does it feed into what you do? What role are you playing at Bliss GVS Pharma?
So at Bliss GVS Pharma, World Malaria Day is actually a very significant day for us, because it gives us the opportunity and the chance to actually help in the fight against malaria. So there's actually an innovative or an initiative where we actually brought about the Acts for Africa. Acts for Africa is actually a campaign, right? And malaria-free continent campaign, right? And that's actually we donate drugs to healthcare facilities, and also we accompany it with health talk and then educational talks as well on malaria.
I see. Coming to you, Kingsley. So this year we have a theme for World Malaria Day 2025, and it is Malaria Ends With Us, Reinvest, Reimagine, Reignite. How does your work align with this message?
All right, so at Bliss GVS Pharma, we believe that with the investing in the research and manufacturing of newer antimalarials or medications would help with our purpose for eradicating malaria. Then the reimagining, we believe that most of our healthcare facilities are not really resourced with the needed medications or the needed things to help with the battle against malaria. So at Bliss GVS, with these things, we are able to, through our donations, we are able to get them the needed medications to help. And we believe that once we are all together, the purpose for which we initiated the Act for Africa, the malaria-free continent, will be able to help us eradicate malaria completely from Africa or even in Ghana. And in the end, the corporate social responsibility, which we believe as a pharmaceutical company, would be achieved.
I'm curious, what inspired your outfit's commitment to fighting malaria?
So the inspiration behind this is we realized that over the years, malaria prevalence has been very predominant, or has been very highly incidental in Africa and even in a part of Ghana. But I think I read a research where they said the studies shows that for the past year, about 11 million people just passed on. Now, if you look at it over the years back, you will see that the prevalence and then the mortality rate was high. So as a pharmaceutical company who believes that it's our corporate social responsibility to ensure that we help eradicate this condition or this malaria, we thought it was that, all right, if we are in the country or we are here or we are in Africa and we are getting support from the healthcare people, why not also support them in their effort or in their fight against malaria? That was the inspiration. And together with our managing director, Mr. Gagan Saman, who believes that once you give back to support them, the purpose will be achieved. That's why we are doing this initiative.
I see. Annabelle, you make donations from time to time. Which regions, which healthcare institutions have benefited from these donations?
Okay, so over the years, right, we've been able to reach several regions. I think 7 regions. Also, for Central region, we've been able to go to the Unibar Trauma Hospital. We've been able to go to the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital. In Volta region, we've been there. We've been to the whole teaching hospital. In Greater Accra here, we've been to University of Ghana Medical Center. We've been to Pelelea Teaching Hospital. We've been to a number of regions. So we've been to Upper West, Tamale, Eastern region.
So you've been to many places.
Yes.
What would you say has been the impact of these?
So I would say that very crucially, we've been able to make anti-malarial drugs very accessible to the people in these facilities, right? We've been able to also alleviate the burdens, right, financial burdens on the patients and their families as well. And then we've helped strengthen infrastructure in the healthcare facilities as well.
Kingsley, how sustainable is this, and what are your future plans in that regard?
So we believe going forward, the purpose to which we want to do is to completely eradicate malaria from the continent. So for the sustainability, Blaze GVS is committed because we don't see it as just a one-time thing. And the success stories that we get from our people, the healthcare professionals that we give to, indicates that it gives us the morale and then the strength to continue on doing that. In the sense that once we donate, for instance, we were at the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana, where the executive secretary said that that's Reverend Dr. Sena Awiti. He mentioned that over the years, when they go out for their outreach, they are able to reach out to people who are underserved and everything. And he reiterated that the donations that we do helps the community which are underserved or less privileged to access good or quality health care. And with that, it's believed that the incidence of malaria in such areas reduces.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what is spurring us on to be able to continue with it. And it wouldn't be a one-time thing.
All right.
We believe definitely that we are going to continue, and sooner or later, we are going to...
we believe in you as well, and we hope you are able to continue. Just to wrap up the conversation, for you, what motivates you to keep on doing this? And ahead of World Malaria Day, for both of you, what can we expect? What would be your message for World Malaria Day? So first, your motivation briefly, and then for the two of you, your message ahead of World Malaria Day.
Okay. So my motivation personally, right, as a staff of Blessed GVS Pharma, stems from a combination of altruism, a strong sense of purpose, right, and the witnessing of positive impact, very key for me especially. And then the fight against malaria is a meaningful endeavor, and I'm actually excited and proud of myself and my company as well to be involved in this.
All right. And so what would be your message on World Malaria Day, which is today? And by the way, the theme is Malaria Ends With Us, Reinvest, Reimagine, Reignite. And that's the bid for today.
Okay.
Final words.
So I would say that my message to the public is actually one of hope and action, right? So as our theme says, malaria ends with us, reinvest, reimagine, reignite. I would say that I would encourage every one of us to actually invest our resources and our time to actually, and our voices as well, to fight malaria.
All right, Kingsley?
Yes.
And we have a Kingsley here. We all call him Ko. Anyway, Kingsley, final words.
For my motivation is, as a pharmacist, I believe it is expedient of me being an expert in medications to help in the eradication of malaria. And it's something, one of the oldest and deadliest condition or disease in the country that is able to cause. So working as a pharmacist at Blessed GVS Pharma has given me the opportunity to be able to reach out to people with these anti-malarials like Lonart, Pialaxine, and helping them make a choice for their condition. Then with the message I have for the public is, together I believe we can all work together to eradicate malaria completely. If we are looking at the National Malaria Elimination Strategic Planning, we believe that in 2028, we should at least eradicate the occurrence of malaria by 90%.
Right.
So that's...
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining the conversation. We had joining us Kingsley Esuma Boateng. He's a pharmacist. Annabelle Appiah is a medical representative at Bliss GVS Ghana. And they both joined us on World Malaria Day. But stay with us. They are not going to get bitten by mosquitoes. Pojoba will be in the studio shortly. As a bobu, I could have given them some mosquitoes to bite them, but they'll be in the studio shortly. Do stay. We'll be right back.
Let's talk about Pojoba, like Ben said. In the studio with me, Godswe Komla Agbodo. He is COMS team member for Pojoba 2000 Year Group, and NS Zuma. He's also a member Pojoba 2000 Legacy Project. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You know the way we do it, when you say hello in your traditional language, they say, Denedoba. What brings you here this morning?
My traditional language will be Nkekova Fiebo.
Thank you, Kova Fiagba.
I'm a member for Pojoba 2000 Year Group.
Okay, what are you doing? For the sake of audience, I get
I know, right? I know, right? Mm-hmm.
What's the latest with Koforidua 2000?
God being so good, we will having our 67th speech and prize giving day. But
67?
Yes, but what's going to happen tomorrow especially is that we want to go on a health and wellness walk from Ayi Mensa to Pediase. And starting from 7 a.m. until you drop dead. I mean, we'll be there, we'll have fun. After the exercise, we'll drink beer, we'll still connect, network, and we'll do our thing. We'll do our thing.
Yeah, I actually do that stretch, you know.
Wow.
Sometimes on weekends, I do the breeze stretch.
Join us tomorrow.
No, tomorrow is all yours. Let's talk about the Legacy Project.
Okay, so Legacy Project, even before the Legacy Project, so we will have a talk, but that will be the following day. But Legacy Project actually is something we've been trying to do for a while, and I've been thinking about. We're on the 25th, this year is our 25th year anniversary since we left school, or since we graduated from Pope John Secondary School. So we realized that for us to have started last year, we're here. Remember we were here last year, and then we should. So we've reached and saved this together. I think there are pictures flying. You will get to see where we've reached. Done the first phase, and we're on the second phase
where we are doing the superstructures, the beams, and the columns.
All that. So funds are coming in. We still need some more funds. About $150,000 US dollars to but we are moving.
Yeah,
we are selling.
I mean, that's no money. I could have written you a tip.
You mean
my
really, Charlie?
My investments at.
You're smiling. The smile is coming from one side of your cheek.
But let me give you each 30 seconds because we have to go. I know that you need to call on your mates, your comrades to join you tomorrow. In fact, throughout the entire celebration for your speech and prize giving day. I'll start with you, Komla.
Okay, I just want to thank someone and ask for more. The CEO, the MD of Farmer Trust, who is our year group.
Yes.
He's one of our own year group guy, and he's really contributing so much to help us make it happen. We just want to tell you that, Dr. Tony, I beg you, this will make I tell you, Oliver Twist is asking for more.
Yeah.
We need more. Then Kojo Ponkroma, my guy, Charlie, you still be big boy. We see the money you give we hear say you go do the roofing and everything. I beg, Charlie, it no be enough. Professor Titus Bayu, now you be MP. Aside the plenty posts you chop, you get money. Titus, me, I don't see your money. Me, I dey talk. I beg you. Tell the others, we need money to finish this project. And tomorrow, we are all coming to Ayi Mensa. Upo umpo. I say, come. Make we enjoy. 7 a.m. After work, it be fun.
Yeah.
Me, this be all I do.
We'll have aerobics. Aerobics. And they'll be, we'll have the certified instructor.
To wear the people out. After walking that stretch, you go.
Just don't worry. Once you approach your bar, you'll be able to handle it.
So there's this certified instructor, Life Arena. Will be there too. I mean, Charlie, just you won't miss it. Just
right.
But
you
know what? Let me have a fun account. But on the back of the walk, which is the following day, we'll have a talk health issues. Yes, about prostate issues. But the seasoned health personnel practitioner that will be talking or speaking on that day will be our mates. Okay. So we have mates like Honorable Titus,
Peaceful
Professor Titus Bayu will be speaking. Emmanuel
Ameibo.
Yeah, Ameibo. So they'll be speaking.
Obviously, you have a packed activities lined up for the celebration, everyone watching us right now can feel the energy. I think our energy is rubbing off them, so they know that there's something happening.
We didn't even talk on the homecoming and then the 67th.
10 seconds. Go.
So we have a 67th anniversary speech day and homecoming. All Pojoba. Right. Everywhere from abroad.
I'd like you to come back again. Let's take time and get into it proper. How about that?
Sweetie, if I don't get your call, it's going to be trouble.
Komla Agbodo, member of the comms team for Pojoba 2000, as well as Ernest Zume. They are all calling on their comrades to join them to celebrate their 67th anniversary and so much more and everything in between. Now let me throw the baton over to the beautiful lady in green with some glittering and the hair and the smile. You know who I'm talking about. Noella Karin comes up next after we turn around.